Zheng Bin's first memory of this life wasn't even his own choice. He opened his eyes as a baby in New York, wrapped in a cheap blanket, crying in a cramped apartment. His mother held him tightly, exhausted but smiling like he was the only miracle she had left. At first, everything felt normal until he grew up. In elementary school history class, the teacher didn't talk about ancient dynasties or wars he remembered. They talked about Captain America, a hero who carried a shield, a man who fought for his country, like a legend walking out of a comic book. And then there was the richest man in America, not some faceless billionaire, Tony Stark. Even the TV news was different. New York didn't just have robbery and gang fights. It had bombings, shootings, terror incidents like they were part of daily life. Zheng Bin slowly realized something terrifying. This world wasn't the Earth he used to know. It was worse. One afternoon, while walking out of school, he saw men in black coats gathered at the gate. They looked like normal adults at first, until they raised their hands and shouted like lunatics. "Hail, Hyra!" The scream sent chills down his spine. Not long after, a Hydra attack hit the city. Buildings shook. Sirens screamed. Streets turned into chaos. That was the moment Zheng Bin accepted the truth. He had transmigrated into the Marvel world. But knowing it didn't change anything. He was still just a kid. No powers. No money. No background. Just an ordinary boy living with his single mother in the most dangerous city on Earth. Years passed in fear and routine, in silent survival. And then he turned 16. By then, he was already numb to crime, numb to gunshots in the distance, numb to police lights flashing like they belonged to the night. His mother was the only stable thing left in his life. She worked hard, smiled even harder, and always told him the same thing. "Just hold on a little longer. We'll be okay." That day, she got paid. For once, she looked happy, truly happy. She held his hand and said they should celebrate. A simple dinner. Nothing fancy. Just a mother and her son eating warm food in a restaurant that smelled like fried chicken and coffee. Zheng Bin thought, maybe life was finally getting better. Then the door exploded open. Gunfire ripped through the air. People screamed. Tables flipped. Glass shattered. Terrorists. Again. Zheng Bin froze, his brain refusing to process what was happening. His mother reacted faster than him. Before he could even breathe, she pulled him back and stepped in front of him. A shot rang out. Her body jerked. Blood spread across her chest like a cruel stain that wouldn't stop growing. Zheng Bin stared at her, his eyes wide, his whole soul going numb. "No, no, no." She collapsed in front of him. Her hands trembled as she tried to hold on to him, but her strength drained away like sand slipping through fingers. Zheng Bin caught her, holding her tightly. Warm blood soaked into his clothes. His mother's eyes dimmed slowly, like a light going out. And in that moment, Zheng Bin's world shattered. He screamed until his throat tore. He cried until his vision blurred. He held her body as if his arms could stop death itself. But he couldn't. He was too weak, too ordinary, too helpless. "Why?" His voice cracked, shaking with hatred. "Why did you bring me here? If you wanted me to suffer, then why let me live at all?" The air around him felt heavy, like the world itself was pressing down on his chest. Then, a cold mechanical voice rang inside his mind. Strong emotional fluctuation detected. Traveler confirmed. Heroic spirit system binding successful. Zheng Bin froze. His tears didn't stop, but his breathing did. Another line followed, emotionless yet sharp. "Host, do you want revenge?" His hands clenched so hard his nails dug into his skin. Revenge? Of course. His mother had just died in front of him. If he didn't want revenge, then what was he even alive for? "Yes." He roared inside his head like a madman. "Yes, I want revenge." Acknowledged. First binding complete. Novice benefit granted. Please chant the summoning spell to draw a card. Words appeared in his mind like engraved commands. And Zheng Bin didn't hesitate. He spoke the chant, voice trembling between grief and fury. The moment the last line left his lips, A terrorist not far away turned his head. He noticed a boy kneeling in blood, talking to the air like a lunatic. "What the hell are you muttering to yourself about?" The man walked over casually, gun in hand. Then he raised the barrel and pressed it toward Zheng Bin's forehead. One pulled the trigger. That's all it would take. Zheng Bin slowly lifted his head. His eyes weren't those of a scared teenager anymore. They were filled with an ocean of hatred, so deep it looked inhuman. He answered inside his mind, calm and cold. "Yes." Heroic spirit card equipped. Instantly, the wind exploded outward. A glowing golden magic circle appeared beneath Zheng Bin's feet, engraved with complex patterns that looked ancient and divine. Light burst out so violently that everyone in the restaurant instinctively shut their eyes. For a second, it felt like the room had been swallowed by the sun. Then the light vanished, and when everyone opened their eyes again, the boy had changed. The blood on the floor was still there. The corpse in his arms was still there. But Zheng Bin wore ancient regal clothing, heavy and solemn like the robes of a king. Golden ornaments rested around his neck, and his presence was completely different. It wasn't teenager in danger anymore. It was something sacred, something terrifying. The terrorist's face turned pale. His instincts screamed. This wasn't normal. This wasn't human. He panicked and fired. Bang! 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 Bullets tore through the air straight toward Zheng Bin's head. But Zheng Bin didn't flinch. Not even a blink. Because at that moment, grief had been suppressed by something far older, far colder. Solomon, a king blessed with true wisdom. A ruler who held power over life and death. As the memories and temperament flooded into Zheng Bin's mind, his emotions didn't disappear. They were simply locked away behind a throne. His head tilted slightly. A bullet skimmed past his ear. He calmly glanced at the terrorist. Just one look. The man's body flew backward like an invisible giant had slapped him. He crashed into the wall, so hard the plaster cracked into spiderweb patterns. The other gangsters finally snapped out of their shock. They raised their guns in a frenzy. Kill him. Gunfire erupted like a storm. But Zheng Bin merely lifted one hand, and every bullet stopped midair, frozen, suspended like metal insects trapped in invisible glass. A second later, his fingers curled slightly. The bullets turned around in midair and shot back, one after another. They pierced through skulls like divine punishment. Bodies dropped to the ground, lifeless, twitching once before going still. The restaurant fell into dead silence. Only one man remained standing, the one who had shot Zheng Bin's mother. His legs shook so hard he could barely hold the gun. His face turned gray, sweat pouring down like rain. No, no, no. Desperate, he grabbed someone nearby, an innocent person crouching on the floor. A girl, young, around Zheng Bin's age. Long curly blonde hair, trembling shoulders, blue eyes shining with tears. He dragged her up violently and shoved her in front of him like a shield. Don't come closer. I swear I'll kill her. The girl's body shook. She tried to breathe, but fear crushed her lungs. Zheng Bin stared at them. His face was expressionless, cold, royal, like the world's judgment had arrived. And the next moment, the air itself seemed to tremble, because King Solomon was about to decide who lives and who dies. Zheng Bin stared at the scene in front of him with eyes as calm as still water. The gangster's gun was pressed against the girl's head. Her body trembled, tears rolling down her cheeks. The restaurant was filled with sobbing, suppressed screams, and the stench of fear. But Zheng Bin didn't move, not because he didn't care, because at this moment, Solomon's personality had taken the throne. He slowly raised his right hand and rotated the ring on his left finger, the movement elegant and indifferent, like a king turning the key to a prison. The gangster's voice cracked, trying to sound tough. "Why you? Put your hand down, or I'll shoot." The hostages panicked instantly. Someone screamed. The gangster snapped, turning wild. F***K. Stop screaming. Believe it or not, I'll kill every last one of you. He had barely finished yelling when, Pat, a hand, no. Something touched his shoulder. The gangster stiffened, then turned his head, and his soul almost left his body. Behind him stood a giant dog, a monster with wings, like a nightmare that crawled out of a myth. Its eyes were cold. Its mouth slowly opened, revealing rows of sharp teeth soaked in saliva. Before the gangster could even scream, crunch, the beast bit down. Not on his throat, not on his face, on the arm holding the gun. The sound of bones snapping was clear and disgusting. The man's gun fell with a clatter as the monster chewed his arm like meat. The girl screamed and stumbled away, finally free, running toward Zheng like a drowning person finding land. In pure panic, she threw herself into his arms. Her soft body pressed tightly against his chest, her breath shaky, arms locked around him like she feared he would disappear. If it was the old Zheng, he would have blushed. He would have awkwardly tried to comfort her. He might have even felt lucky. But right now, he only glanced down at her for a split second. Then his gaze returned to the gangster. Cold, unmoved, like a judge watching a criminal's last breath. That monster was not a random creature. It was Mephisto, summoned through Solomon's 10 Commandments. A killing beast ranked among the 72 demon pillars. A bloodthirsty executioner. The gangster's screams turned into a horrifying wail. Pain, panic, despair. It didn't even sound human anymore. It lasted only a few seconds. Then the man's body went limp. Silence. The winged beast licked the blood from its mouth like it had just enjoyed a snack. And then it turned into smoke, disappearing into nothing, as if it had never existed. The restaurant froze. No one dared speak. No one dared move. Zheng gently loosened the girl's arms and stepped back. The girl's face was red. Her voice shook. Can I know your name? Zheng didn't answer. He didn't even look back. His feet lifted off the ground, like gravity had forgotten him. With one smooth motion, he floated out of the restaurant and vanished into the night. Somewhere far away, inside a small, quiet house, Zheng finally landed. The moment his feet touched the floor, a voice sounded inside his head again. Do you want to unlock the current state? Zheng throat tightened. His mother's face flashed through his mind. That blood, that warmth disappearing, that helplessness. Yes, he whispered. State unlocked. Congratulations, host. First heroic spirit transformation completed. Reward granted. 1 card draw opportunity. Solomon card cooldown. 168 hours. Cannot be used during cooldown. Zheng leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. His hands were shaking again now that Solomon's calm had faded. His voice turned low and rough. What are you? Replied a host. I am the heroic spirit system, originating from Chaldea. Zheng frowned. Chaldea? The system continued, still emotionless. Because hosts traveled to this world 16 years ago, you broke the wall of the world. This caused some heroic spirits to escape from the throne and appear in the present world. My mission is to recover the escaped heroic spirits and return them. The system explained the throne of heroes, the concept of heroic spirits, and the meaning of cards. Zheng listened silently. Then he asked the one question that mattered. Why did you choose me? Because ordinary humans cannot withstand the power of a heroic spirit. Host is the anomaly who broke the wall of the world. Your soul has enough strength to carry it. Zheng clenched his jaw. So that's what he was. Not special. Not chosen by destiny. Just the problem that caused the accident. The thought made his chest hurt again. His mother's death replayed like a knife scraping his heart. He forced himself to breathe. To be your host, what do I do? The system answered clearly. First, collect heroic spirits. Each recovered heroic spirit will become a heroic spirit card. You may equip and use their skills. Second, protect humanity. Chaldea is the Human Survival Preservation Agency. This world contains multiple threats that endanger human existence. When danger is detected, tasks will be issued. Complete tasks to obtain more card draws. Zheng eyes narrowed. A system that gives power, but demands blood. The system continued. When host accumulates 10 card draw opportunities. In addition to transformations, You'll be able to summon real heroic spirits to fight beside you. Zheng Bin's breathing slowed. That meant, one day, he wouldn't have to fight alone. The system's voice echoed again. Host, you currently have one card draw opportunity. Do you want to draw a card? Zheng Bin didn't hesitate. Yes. Please recite the spell. He recited it silently in his mind. The magic circle appeared in the house once more, bright enough to make the walls glow. Light bloomed, then disappeared. A card floated in the air before him. Congratulations, host. 5-star card obtained. For the first time, the system's tone actually sounded excited, almost like it couldn't believe its luck. Heroic spirit, Altria. Level, 5 stars. Class, Saber. Would you like to equip? Zheng Bin stared at the card. On it was a girl. White hair, a white veil, and an outfit so revealing it looked like it belonged in a nightclub, not a battlefield. Zheng Bin's face went blank. No. Heroic spirit card stored. Zheng Bin kept staring at it, eyes twitching slightly. How is it a girl? Can I even equip a girl? Yes, host. Equipping a female heroic spirit will not change your gender. That didn't comfort him at all. Zheng Bin took a slow breath and pointed at the card, voice stiff. Then this outfit. When host equips a heroic spirit card, host's clothing will automatically match the card's image. Zheng Bin stayed silent for a full 10 seconds. Then he spoke with absolute determination. I will never equip this card. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not in this lifetime. Absolutely not.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
Zheng Bin used a little savings left in his family to bury his mother. Not many people came to the funeral on the day. Only his mother's colleagues who worked in the restaurant and his neighbor Peter Parker and his aunt came. Zheng Bin's mother was a native of Japan. She came to the United States to study in college. Later, she broke off relations with her family because she had a child out of wedlock, so no relatives came to the scene. Zheng Bin didn't know who his biological father was. His mother never mentioned it, but he knew from his mixed-race appearance that his father must be a white man. After the funeral, Peter Parker asked him worriedly, Bin, what will you do in the future? Not much. Just live a good life by yourself. Zheng Bin shrugged his shoulders, pretending to be relaxed. In fact, he was also confused. His studies were not completed yet, and the family's savings were used up. Peter Parker's Aunt May also came forward. Ben, if you encounter any problems in the future, you can come to us. Ben, you are a genius. It would be a pity if you can't complete your studies. Well, don't worry. Zheng Bin didn't know why he was a poor student in his previous life, especially in science, which was terrible. But in this life, he is like a cheat in learning with super high talent. If it weren't for the high tuition fees of American universities, he would have the ability to go to university when he was 13 years old. But he has already self-studied university content for 3 years. Or now, he can consider skipping grades and try to apply for university scholarships. In theory, Zheng Bin is only 16 years old this year and is not yet an adult. In theory, the only guardian has passed away, and he should find a new guardian for him. The strange thing is that the government only sent a pension these days, but did not mention the guardian at all. But Zheng Bin doesn't care. He lives better alone and would rather not have a guardian. This pension greatly reduced Zheng Bin's financial burden. He spent a week dealing with his mother's funeral and returned to campus. Today, a new history teacher came to the school, causing a sensation among all the boys in the school. The new teacher has long red wavy hair. The bright color is very eye-catching. The green cat eyes seem to be seductive, and a professional suit on her body can't hide her good figure. As soon as she walked into Zheng Bin's classroom, she caused a commotion and many boys whistled. Hello, everyone. I am your new history teacher. My name is Nasha Polly. You can just call me Nasha." Zheng Bin, like everyone else, stared at Nasha closely. Nasha seemed to feel his gaze, looked over accurately, smiled at him, and then moved his eyes away. When the get-out of class was over, Zheng Bin continued to read in his seat to prepare for the application for university. Mechanical engineering? A faint fragrance came into Zheng Bin's nose. This doesn't seem to be a high school course. Zheng Bin turned his head to look at the people around him, and Nasha didn't know when he came to his side. "It's true, I'm self-studying university courses. I didn't expect you to be so smart." Nasha smiled slightly, and the charm she revealed made Zheng Bin stunned. Seeing the dazed Zheng Bin, Nasha smiled again. Suddenly, there was a huge amount of explosions in the campus, and Nasha quickly walked to the window to look. Someone has buried a bomb in the school. Someone shouted in the corridor, and all the students panicked and rushed to the door. The system, which had been silent for a while, suddenly said, "Task released, destroy Hydra who planted the bomb. Reward, draw a card 1/2 time." Why is there another 1/2 time? Because this mission is relatively simple, the reward is only 1/2. Okay. Zheng Bin was very depressed. Fortunately, the Solomon card has been cooled down. Otherwise, he would not want to equip Altira's card. But by then, when he has collected 10 card draws, he can summon the heroic spirit to help him. Thinking about Altira's figure and outfit, Zheng Bin almost drooled. He ran against the flow of people to the toilet. After a burst of light in the toilet, he had equipped the Solomon card. After the equipment was ready, Zheng Bin touched the 10 rings on his hand, and dozens of strange Mephisto appeared out of thin air. "Help me find the person who planted the bomb on campus." As a summoner of Mephisto, Zheng Bin and Mephisto have the same perspective, and he can see everything Mephisto sees. Mephisto's speed and perception ability are very strong. It didn't take long for him to find the group of people who dropped the bomb. There were about a dozen strong men wearing black clothes and hoods who were not good people at first glance. Suddenly, a blond man wearing a blue tights and holding a shield appeared. It was Captain America. "System, if Hydra in the mission is destroyed by Captain America, will my mission be considered successful? Report to the host. The mission will be considered a failure." Equipped with the Solomon card, Zheng Bin's personality has been assimilated. As a dictator, he has a strong sense of territory for his things. After knowing that he is likely to be robbed, he was very angry. He flew to the place where Hydra gathered at the fastest speed, and with a wave of his right hand, he fanned Captain America into the air. Captain America turned over in the air and barely landed on one knee. Fortunately, Zheng Bin in the Solomon state still retained a trace of his original personality. Otherwise, this wave of his hand would most likely make Captain America fly high into the sky, and the speed of falling from the sky would turn him into a meat paste. "Who are you?" Captain America looked at the boy in front of him and asked in a deep voice. The boy was wearing a set of ancient costumes, and his young face looked majestic without anger, with amazing momentum. "I am King Solomon." Zheng Bin looked at the other party with a pair of calm eyes. King Solomon? Captain America thought to himself, is it the King Solomon he knew? Hydra laughed when they heard Zheng Bin's words. "Did you hear this kid saying he is King Solomon?" "Ah, I am so amused. Then I am still Pharaoh too." Zheng Bin, who was mocked, had a calm face and just stroked the ring in his hand. The members of Hydra were suddenly surrounded by smoke. When the smoke dissipated, they screamed when they saw the scene in front of them. "Oh, monsters!" They were surrounded by a circle of monsters, all of which opened their bloody mouths and looked impatient. A few people were brave enough to quickly take out their pistols and fired a few shots. The bullets passed through the monsters without any hindrance, but did not cause any damage to them. Soon, these monsters began to eat, and everyone wailed. "Stop!" Captain America saw the cruel scene in front of him, and even though he knew that this group of people were enemies, he couldn't help but stop them. He swung out the shield with all his strength, hoping to stop the boy's actions. Zheng Bin saw the oncoming shield, raised his eyebrows, and caught the seemingly unstoppable shield with one hand. Captain America showed an expression of disbelief, and then prepared to go into battle with bare hands. Mission completed. Congratulations to the host. You have won 1/2 chance of the lottery. Since you are kind, I will not care about your rudeness, and I will spare your life for the time being. Zheng heard the system's prompt sound and prepared to withdraw. He gently waved the shield in his hand, and the shield flew towards Captain America at a speed so fast that people could not see it. When Captain America reacted, the shield was deeply trapped in the wall behind him. Zheng flew into the sky and soon disappeared in front of him. The Mephisto that was originally in a circle also turned into smoke and dissipated. After Mephisto dissipated, only a pile of white skeletons were left on the ground. Hydra's body was gnawed clean, leaving only some scraps of meat stuck to the skeleton, and you can feel how painful they were tortured when they were alive. Even Captain America was shocked by the scene. After Zheng returned home, he removed the status of the heroic spirit card. The status of the heroic spirit card has been removed, and the Solomon card is frozen for 168 hours. As soon as the Solomon card was removed, Zheng phone rang with a text message reminder. He took out his phone and found that there were more than a dozen messages from Peter Parker at the door. Ben, I heard that there was a terrorist attack at your school. Are you okay? I'm very worried. Please reply to me when you see the text message. Zheng replied, Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm back home. Peter Parker immediately replied, That's great. I was scared to death when I saw the news just now. If you are free tonight, would you like to have dinner with me at May's restaurant? She said she hasn't seen you for a long time. Okay. Then come to Midtown High School later. Let's go find May after school. Okay. As soon as Peter Parker walked out of the school gate, he saw his friend and waved his hand quickly. Ben, you're here. Zheng was wearing ordinary casual clothes as usual, standing next to the school gate with his hands in his pockets. When he saw Peter Parker, he nodded casually. For some reason, Peter Parker didn't dare to joke with his friend as usual today. He felt that Ben's temperament was different, but he couldn't tell where it was different. He just felt that he was particularly imposing. Zheng personality will be affected because he has equipped the Solomon card twice. He has been somewhat tainted with King Solomon's royal power and divinity, and his temperament and appearance will also change. He now looks more masculine than before he got the system, and his temperament gives people a sense of awe without anger. Peter Parker said, Then let's go. Parker, a blonde girl, ran out of the gate. Her body, wrapped in a tight top, was shaking with her movements. She stopped because of the extreme speed of running. Her chest was constantly rising and falling, and Peter Parker's eyes were straight. Is this your friend? She asked while panting, and her sweet voice was particularly moving with the breath sound. Ah, yes. Peter Parker came back to his senses and quickly introduced, This is my neighbor, Zheng. So your name is Zheng. The blonde girl smiled happily. Last time. I haven't thanked you properly for the last time. My name is Gwen Stacy. Just call me Gwen. Hello. Zheng looked calm. He finally recognized that this girl was the one who was held hostage by the gangsters in the restaurant last time. Gwen didn't know whether the other party wanted to be discovered as a super ability person, and she didn't dare say more about the last time. She bit her lower lip and felt that she couldn't waste such a good opportunity. Excuse me, can you give me your mobile phone number? I want to treat you to a meal to express my gratitude. Zheng nodded and exchanged phone numbers with Gwen without any hesitation. On the way to the restaurant, Peter Parker was in a very low mood. After a while, he couldn't help but ask, How did you know Gwen Stacy? I helped her a little last time. Peter Parker said sourly, That's great. Stacy is the school belle of our school and the goddess of all the boys in school. She actually asked you for your mobile phone number on her own initiative. In the school, that boy had never fantasized about Plaid Stacy. He was a little jealous of his friend's luck. Do you want it? I'll give you her number. Forget it. She's not interested in me at all. She's interested in you. In S.H.I.E.L.D., Director Nick Fury was looking to the report submitted by Captain America. His strength is unfathomable, but his methods are cruel. He has no empathy, and he is suspected of having an antisocial personality. It is recommended to strengthen monitoring and control danger in time. It is not recommended to be included in S.H.I.E.L.D. After reading it, Nick said, "Captain, is this your opinion?" Captain America said with a righteous face, "Yes, I saw his attitude towards Hydra yesterday. Although HYDRA is our enemy, his brutal behavior is chilling. His expression tells me that killing is just a common thing for him. If you fight him with all your strength, who will win? I will lose. His strength is far greater than mine, and he has a mysterious ability. I can't see through his strength." Nick pondered. A person stronger than Captain America. Is he a helper or an enemy? Don't rush to draw a conclusion. Natasha Romanoff has been lurking in his school. Wait for her report after observation. Zheng felt very strange. Recently at school, Natasha always suddenly appeared around him, in addition to liking to call him up to answer questions in class. There are also various excuses to chat with him after class. Originally, Zheng was just an invisible person in school. Although his academic performance was good, his Asian genes caused him to grow slowly. At the age of 16, he was only more than 170 centimeters tall, which made him look short among a group of Westerners. But now, because of the favor of teacher Nisha, many people in the school have noticed him. I don't know what charm he has that makes the beautiful history teacher look at him differently. Some bullies in the campus have also set their sights on him. One day after school, he was blocked by a group of tall and strong boys in the school playground. "Smelly boy, you have been in the limelight recently. With your appearance, you dare to approach Nasha?" a bully said and stretched out his hand, trying to push Zheng to the ground. Zheng experienced 2 heroic spirit card bindings. In addition to the changes in his personality, his body was also cleansed because of the possession of the spirit, and his physical fitness was greatly enhanced. Although it was not comparable to Solomon's state, it was dozens of times better than ordinary people. Now in his eyes, the bully's actions were like slow motion. He dodged by leaning sideways. The bully missed and lost his balance. He ran forward a few steps before he stabilized his body. His face was twisted with anger, and he shouted viciously, F***K, show him some color. All the people standing by rushed up and punched and kicked Zheng. To their surprise, although Zheng looked weak, he was so strong. No matter how tricky and fast their punches were, they would be easily dodged by Zheng. Then he would fight back with stronger force. 2 minutes later, everyone fell to the ground, holding their wounds and screaming in pain. Only Zheng stood intact. Even without that weird outfit, his fighting power is still amazing. It is estimated that he is at the level of an 8th-level agent. Natasha Romanoff recorded the scene she had just seen while hiding in the dark of the playground. Zheng force in normal state is indeed not low. You should know that Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye are both level 10 agents. Level 8 agents are only 1 level lower than them, and they are also far superior to ordinary people. He usually looks like an ordinary student. His mental state cannot be seen for the time being. It remains to be observed. After editing the report, Natasha Romanoff clicked send and sent it to Nick. Zheng, who defeated a group of bullies, walked out of the school gate. He had been in contact with Gwen by text message these days. She had repeatedly strongly requested to treat Zheng to a meal. In desperation, Zheng had to agree to her request. Today, Gwen's school was dismissed early, and she stood at the school gate waiting for Zheng early. Gwen has a beautiful appearance and a hot body. In addition, she dressed up carefully today. Standing at the school gate, she attracted a lot of attention. Waves of boys came forward to chat with her, but she politely rejected them all. Gwen, who had just rejected several people's chats, was already a little impatient. When she saw Zheng coming out of the door, her eyes lit up. "Ben, I'm here." Gwen waved her hand vigorously. "Where are we going to eat?" Zheng asked. "I've already booked a seat. Just follow me." Gwen drove the car today and drove Zheng to the city center, and finally stopped at the door of a high-level restaurant. Poor people like Zheng also know this restaurant. It is said that the price of this restaurant is very high. Some hesitation. "I heard it's expensive here." "I'm treating you to a meal, and I must eat the best." Gwen said as a matter of course. "You know, you are my savior, and—" She stopped and her face turned red. "Okay, Since someone is treating, Zheng doesn't care and follows Gwen upstairs without paying. Gwen's seat is by the window. After night falls, this position is just right to see the beautiful night view of New York. The dim light of the restaurant is projected on Gwen's beautiful face, making her red lips look particularly tender and tender. She looked at Zheng shyly, hesitant to speak. "What's wrong? Do you have something to say to me?" Zheng asked in confusion when he saw the other person's look. Gwen took a deep breath and made up her mind. "I fell in love with you at first sight when we first met." "Ah, you protected me like a hero at that time. This was the first time I had such a heartbeat feeling towards a boy since I was a child. Later, I thought we would never meet again, but who knew you suddenly appeared at the gate of my school? I really like you. Can you be my boyfriend?" Such a beautiful woman confessed to him. Under normal circumstances, Zheng must have agreed. But according to the plot of Marvel, she will be his brother's girlfriend in the future. Zheng hesitated. Gwen, who had not received a response for a long time, was about to cry. "It's okay. I also know that people like you will not fall in love with an ordinary high school girl." Zheng looked at the girl's moist eyes and his heart softened. Silently in his heart, "I'm sorry, brother. Don't cry, I promise you." "Really?" Gwen burst into laughter, with a bright smile on her tearful face. Zheng reached out and held Gwen's hand tightly on the dining table. "Really?" Zheng and Gwen Stacy have established a relationship, but he always feels guilty that he has cheated on his good friend. So he never goes to Midtown High School to pick up his girlfriend after school for fear of being caught by Peter Parker. Basically, Gwen drives to Zheng school every day to pick him up. Many people didn't see that there would be a beautiful woman waiting for someone at the gate of their school every day, and many people went up to chat with her, but returned empty-handed. Later, it was found that she was waiting for Zheng. Everyone was surprised. It turned out to be the ordinary Zheng. In fact, it is not quite accurate to describe Zheng with the word ordinary now. After being cleansed by the spiritual energy, Zheng physique is changed by huge amounts of, and his appearance has also changed significantly. He used to be thin and small, and his appearance was more Asian. In the past 2 months, Zheng height suddenly jumped from the original 170 to 182. His thin body became stronger, and his originally delicate mixed-race appearance added to his masculinity and exuded a special charm. Gwen would be immersed in his deep black eyes as long as she looked at him for a few seconds. Another more obvious change was that Zheng felt that his IQ was higher than before. In the past, he still needed to study hard to read the university courses. But now, he can master them in a very short time. This is normal. The system answered for Zheng when he was puzzled. In the legend, King Solomon received God's blessing, true wisdom. He is the king of wisdom of the J*WS. You who have integrated his divinity naturally receive this blessing. The more times you equip his cards, the higher the degree of integration. After listening to the system's explanation, Zheng was more looking forward to drawing cards. I wonder what other skills other heroes will have to help him. Finally, the system issued him another task. Like last time, he could only get 1/2 chance of drawing cards. The mission is to destroy Hydra's secret laboratory. This laboratory is relatively small and not well guarded. Zheng, equipped with King Solomon's card, sneaked in easily. Before equipping, Zheng had thought that maybe he should not release Mephisto this time, and not make the scene so tragic every time. Zheng did not sympathize with the terrorists. His mother's tragic death made him hate terrorists. He was just worried that this method might attract the attention of certain departments. However, all these thoughts disappeared after he equipped the Solomon card. Zheng, who had integrated Solomon's personality, had no such concerns at all. He still used brutal means to eliminate all Hydra in the experimental base. Humans are just ants to him, just as humans never care how they step on ants to death. King Solomon never cares how humans die. He was too lazy to do it himself. Releasing Mephisto was the easiest way. Soon S.H.I.E.L.D., who received the intelligence, also sent people to the laboratory. But when they arrived at the laboratory, they saw that the laboratory was empty, with only bones on the ground. The captain of the team this time came forward and saw the bones with flesh on the ground. He frowned when he saw the familiar, miserable scene. Why is it him again? Zheng Bin, who had just released equipment mode, heard the system's impatient prompt sound. Ding! Congratulations to host. Collect a card draw opportunity. Do you want to draw a card now? Yes. Congratulations to the host. Another 5-star card. Host, you are really lucky. Francis Drake, level 5 stars, class rider jockey. When Zheng Bin heard the system voice, he was happy, thinking that he had drawn a male card. Who knew that when he saw the mission image on the card, the low-cut clothing, and the surging figure? MD, it's a female card again. He only has one male card now, and he is afraid that when the task time is too frequent, the Solomon card will not be cooled down, and he will have to equip the female card. It would be great if there was another male card to replace it, even if it is the first star point. Equip. No. Zheng Bin replied, unhappily. Now he can only comfort himself and wait until the number of card draws is enough. The female card in his hand does not have to be equipped by himself, and he can summon it at that time. The hero on this card looks good, but there is a huge amount of scar in the middle of the face. This scar does not make people feel ugly, but has a defective beauty. Now the female card is poor and huge, and each has its own flavor. Unexpectedly, Zheng Bin's worries came true so quickly. The day after he drew the Drake card, the system issued him a task. Tony Stark was kidnapped by terrorists in the Middle East. Mission: rescue Tony Stark. Reward: draw a card once. The Solomon card is cooling down, and Zheng Bin doesn't want to take this mission. Why do I have to rescue the richest man when he is kidnapped? Tony Stark's brain is a treasure of mankind, and he is about to become Iron Man, and he has made huge amounts of contributions to protecting the Earth. Zheng Bin continued to shirk. I remember that he was able to escape by himself in the movie, so it doesn't matter if I don't go. If the plot of this world is followed, you are right. However, there is a huge variable in his kidnapping this time. I felt the spirit fluctuations of the heroic spirit left in this world at the place where he was kidnapped. If his kidnapping this time is related to the heroic spirit, then he is likely to die in this danger. The strength of the heroic spirit is beyond this world. In this world, only you who have a heroic spirit ability can defeat the heroic spirit. Okay. Having said this, Zheng Bin could only agree no matter how reluctant he was. Opening the heroic spirit library, there are 3 cards in total. The originally colorful Solomon card turned grayish-white because it was cooling down. The remaining 2 were female cards. How far is the place where Tony Stark was kidnapped from here? About 12,000 kilometers. Equip me with Francis Drake. Got it. He didn't know what Tony Stark was like, so the sooner he got there, the better. Drake's class was rider, so he could get there as quickly as possible. After a burst of light, Zheng Bin equipped Francis Drake's heroic spirit card. Unlike the hot female image on the card, Zheng Bin felt that his current appearance was simply eye-catching. There was a long scar on his handsome face, and his originally refreshing black short hair turned into long hair. The fabric on his chest wrapped around his strong chest muscles with a little ripple. The tight riding pants wrapped his lower body tightly, and the bulge in the pants was very conspicuous. System, you're asking me to save the Earth in this image? Zheng Bin saw himself in the mirror. He was really a cross-dresser. He was a pervert. The system was speechless after seeing it. How about when I equip the female card, I will help the host change the body shape. Change it to female state. Is that okay? Yes, change it quickly. Being a woman is better than being a pervert. It's only temporary anyway. After the shape change, Zheng Bin saw that his height of 182 in the mirror had shrunk to about 165. The originally masculine facial features were also weakened, and the originally delicate mixed-race face became very feminine. What a beautiful woman. She looked more majestic than Gwen, and felt softer. Although it was his own body now, Zheng Bin still couldn't let it go. Tony Stark ran out of the terrorist base wearing the rough mecha that he had spent several weeks researching. Soon, his movement alarmed more people, and a group of terrorists drove cars and chased after him with various weapons. "Ha, come on. Let Dad teach you how to be a man." Tony Stark laughed in the desert, raised his hand, and prepared to activate the weapons and equipment in his hand. Just then, a gust of wind blew up, and his heavy mecha staggered. Not to mention the terrorists. They drove open trucks to facilitate the shooting of weapons, and many people were almost blown out of the car by the wind and could only hold the seats tightly. "Look at the sky," one of them shouted, and everyone looked up. I saw a ship coming towards them in the sky. From their direction, they could not see the whole body of the ship, only the bow. But from the size of the bow, they knew that the ship must be very huge. Is this a new type of American fighter, sent specifically to save Tony Stark? Soon, the ship landed near them, and the strong wind stopped. At the moment they saw the whole picture of the ship clearly. The ship looked big, probably about the same size as a cruise ship. The whole ship was made of wood and gold, and the hull was very exquisite. It was not only carved, but also inlaid with gems. Some parts of the hull were painted red, which matched the color of the wood. A black-haired woman in revealing clothes jumped down from the high deck easily. While walking towards the crowd, she said, "It's really lively here." When the woman got closer and closer, everyone saw it clearly, and the men whistled. Tony Stark in the armor looked at her figure and couldn't help but say, "Wow." "This beautiful woman, although you are very hot and in line with my aesthetics, this is not a place suitable for dating. See you in New York then." Tony Stark saw the beautiful woman standing next to him and knew that she should be here to help him. However, he thought he could still control the situation, and there was no need to drag such a beautiful woman into the water, so he wanted her to leave first. "Shut up, old man." Zheng, who integrated Drake's car personality, almost blurted out "old lady" just now, but fortunately he reacted and changed his words in time. The terrorist standing opposite in this barren desert could actually see such a hot and beautiful woman, and all kinds of dirty words blurted out. "Beauty, did you come to the desert to play with us?" "Ha ha ha. Tony Stark can't satisfy you alone. Come to our side quickly. Look at your pair." Before the rest of the words were finished, the man's head exploded instantly, and the brains splashed all over the faces of the people nearby. Zheng blew the smoke in the muzzle of the musket in his hand and sneered, "Do you know what the end is for those who dare to talk to me like this?" Tony Stark looked at the musket in Zheng hand with a dull face. This ancient-looking musket seemed to have just fired a laser wave. Did I see it wrong? After Zheng fired this shot, the terrorists who were still laughing realized that this woman was a tough guy, so they all picked up their weapons and started to attack. Tony Stark dodged a few shots in a panic and was ready to open his weapon to fight back, but he was afraid of accidentally killing the woman next to him. "Hey, why don't you go on the boat to hide first?" Zheng looked at Tony Stark's worn-out mecha with disdain and then said, "You should go on the boat to hide." After saying that, he raised the mecha with both hands and threw it onto the ship. "Go!" Tony Stark, who fell heavily on the deck, was almost concussed in the mecha and groaned in pain. His mecha weighed at least 5 or 6 tons, but it was so easy to throw himself onto such a high deck. Who is this woman? Francis Drake loves gorgeous things the most, so Zheng really made a great determination to let the shabby and ugly mecha on his ship. After the mecha left the ground, he could finally start fighting with peace of mind. Francis Drake is a double gunner. While he quickly dodged the dense bullets, he shot left and right, and laser waves shot out from the 2 muskets. Soon, more than half of the terrorists on the opposite side died. "Quick, go find the boss," a terrorist shouted, and the next second his head was shot by a musket. The rest of the people retreated quickly. Zheng did not chase them, but let them escape. After fighting for so long, they were all shrimp soldiers and crab generals, and he felt very bored. Now I hope they can bring back some powerful things, so that he can have a good time. Zheng sat in the desert, gently wiping the gun in his hand with a soft cloth. After a while, the person who just escaped came back with more people. "Just now it was you, the cousin, who killed my people." A strong man with a bare upper body and a large tattoo popped out of the tank and shouted at Zheng Bin. Zheng fired a shot casually and a laser shot toward the tank. At the moment when the laser was about to penetrate the tank, it was broken by a huge amount of sword. The big man who was still shouting just now had a soft leg and fell off the tank, shouting to the person who came, "Wong, Wong. It was her who killed our brothers just now. Ha ha, it turns out that you killed my men. You have strong ability. Do you want to join me?" A tall man wearing a red cloak inserted the sword in his hand into the sand and asked Zheng, "A heroic spirit has been detected. The other party is Iskandar, one of the heroic spirits scattered in this world from the Seat of Heroes. Please retrieve the heroic spirit card as soon as possible." Iskandar's life and heroic spirit skills and other information were stuffed into the system's brain. Alexander the Great, the king of conquerors? How did the king of conquerors fall to the point of mixing with this mob? You actually know me? They are all my subordinates. Although their abilities are not strong, they have the same lofty ambitions as me, which is to conquer the world. Since you know my name, please tell me yours. I am Francis Drake, the demon king of the sea. The sea. Istikaner showed a nostalgic look. I used to want to know where the end of the continent was, so I conquered everywhere. Finally, I knew that the end of the continent is the endless sea. Haha, your ship is really good. Why don't we conquer the sea together? Zheng, who integrated Drake's personality, refused. Sorry, conquest is not suitable for pirates like me. I prefer plundering to conquest. Besides, I was sent by Chaldea to recover the heroic spirits. So that's how it is. It seems that you and I are incompatible. In this case, let's have a fair duel. The king of conquerors said, raising the sword in his hand. Okay. Zheng also took out his 2 guns and held them in his hands. The conqueror king rushed up with a sword at a speed that was inconsistent with his size and slashed at Zheng. Zheng dodged the sword with a backflip and fired several shots at the Conqueror King, but they were all blocked by the Conqueror King's sword. In this way, the two fought back and forth in the desert, and they were inseparable. Some terrorists saw Zheng busy parrying the Night King and wanted to sneak attack her, so they fired weapons at her. She dodged them one by one and shot all the sneak attackers in the head. You are fighting me, but you still have the energy to deal with others. It seems that you are stronger than I thought. The Conqueror King's eyes burst with a strong fighting spirit. As a 5-star rider, Zheng knew that if the two fought like this, it would be difficult to tell the winner even if they fought for 100 years. Release! Golden Deer and Stormy Night. Zheng shouted and released Francis's treasure. With the Golden Deer as the center, countless small boats spread out behind her. These were the fleets that Drake had commanded during his lifetime. All the cannons on the ship were aimed at the King of Conquerors. Ready to go. Your treasure is very good. The King of Conquerors laughed. In that case, I will also release my treasure. Release it. The king's army. After the King of Conquerors shouted, the tens of thousands of subordinates who had accompanied him on the battlefield gathered behind him, and there was also a war horse under his crotch. This army is a famous legion in history. All the soldiers turned into heroic spirits after death. It can be said that this is a legion with tens of thousands of heroic spirits. When using the king's army, an inherent barrier will be formed. The scenery inside is a land where the army galloped together. There is no shelter inside, only the scorching sun and plains with hot sand dancing. However, although Zheng treasure is a ship, it can also travel on land. Even in a desert, it will not be affected at all. The two armies are ready. The stormy night has begun. Set sail. Let's restore the glory of the past. Go. The king's army. The cannons of the ships fired at the same time, and strong lasers shot at the king's army. Many soldiers were hit before they approached the ships, and turned into spirit particles and dissipated in the air. The Conqueror King rode his famous war horse in history, holding a big sword, and rode in the front. While he used the sword to split the laser, he controlled the war horse to run at full speed and rush towards the fleet. When the first wave of attacks from the ships stopped, the king's army had only a few thousand people left from tens of thousands of people. These thousands of people had all approached the fleet, and many of them were heroes who left a strong mark in history. Their strength was even stronger, and they destroyed a group of ships in a short while. Zheng, standing on the Golden Deer, was not in a hurry and shouted, switched to close-range guns. The muzzle of the close-range gun stretched out from the hole in the hull. Although the close-range gun was not as powerful as the cannon at the beginning, it was flexible enough to knock down the soldiers near the hull. Another group of soldiers from the king's army turned into spirit particles. The last part of the remaining soldiers were the strongest in the army. They fought hard, and soon a large number of ships were missing from the fleet. It's useless. Zheng, standing on the golden deer, looked at the king of conquerors with sympathy. In history, I am the person with the most ships in the world. This concept is projected on my throne of heroes, so my fleet is unlimited. As soon as the voice fell, more ship spirits materialized and appeared in the desert. Ha ha ha! Your ability is great. If we work together, we can definitely conquer the sea. The king of conquerors was not distressed by the current predicament at all, but laughed heartily. King of conquerors, I really admire you. What a pity. Zheng controlled the golden deer and continued to attack the king of conquerors. In the end, after a day and a night of fighting, the last soldier of the king's army also turned into spirits in the bombardment. Because of support of Chaldea's magic power, no matter how long Zheng fought, there would be a constant source of magic power coming, and he didn't feel tired at all. But the king of conquerors was not. The magic power he brought out from the throne of heroes was almost exhausted. Finally, the king of conquerors was shot by the golden deer and turned into a spirit before he completely dissipated. The king of conquerors said sadly, "What a pity! I thought I had a chance to conquer the sea this time." Ding! The mission has been completed. Obtain the Starkener card, level 5 stars, class rider jockey, and has been stored in the warehouse. Tony Stark, who had been hungry for a day and a night on the golden deer, waited until the war was over before he came forward weakly. "Do you have any food here?" Zheng only then remembered that Tony Stark was still on his ship. "Quickly take out food and wine from Francis Drake's treasure house. Don't starve him to death with his one chance to draw a card." Tony Stark took the food and gobbled it up. He felt that he had never eaten such delicious food. "And this wine is more delicious than all the collections in his house. Am I too hungry?" Tony Stark, the richest man in New York, doubted, how could it be food that even I haven't eaten? He slowed down the speed of swallowing, carefully eating, showing a surprised look. Zheng, who was anxious to complete the rescue mission, was too lazy to answer Tony Stark's question and interrupted him. "Are you full?" "I'm full. Thank you for the hospitality. It's good to be full. Hold the railing next to you firmly." After Zheng finished speaking, he started the golden deer. Soon, the golden deer rose into the air. "Golden deer, let's go." The golden deer shot out like an arrow, and Tony Stark, whose face was blown shape-shifting, finally understood why the other party asked him to hold the railing. The golden deer flight was so fast that he couldn't see the scenery next to him, which was beyond the range that ordinary people could bear. If an ordinary person sat on this ship without any protection, he would be torn to pieces in an instant. In order to protect Tony Stark, Zheng used part of his magic power to form protective film around him. Even so, after a period of tossing, Tony Stark, whose body became very weak, still couldn't stand the pressure brought to him by this speed. The uncomfortable feeling made him ready to vomit. Zheng quickly took out his cane from the treasure house of the heroic spirit and poked Tony Stark's head out of the ship. "Don't vomit on my ship." As a captain, Francis Drake has always been very protective of his ship and could not tolerate someone vomiting on his ship. Zheng, who integrates with her personality, naturally inherited this. From the Middle East to the United States, a distance of nearly 12,000 kilometers, the golden deer flew in less than 10 minutes, and Tony Stark also vomited all the way on the ship. After entering New York, Zheng made the golden deer smaller and turned it into the file size of a yacht. It stopped on the top floor of the Stark Industrial Building. Zheng used his cane to hook Stark's collar in disgust and threw him out of the ship, and the ugly mecha that was hated by people and gods was also thrown out of the ship, smashing a hole in the ground. After doing these things, he left on the golden deer. Ding! Tony Stark has returned to New York safely. Congratulations to the host for completing the rescue mission. You have obtained a chance to draw a card. Do you want to draw a card now? Zheng Bin, who returned home and released a heroic spirit state, replied, "Yes." Start drawing a card. Haha, congratulations to the host. It's still a 5-star card. The first Emperor of Heroic Spirits, level 5 stars, class ruler. Seeing that his host was so lucky and every card he drew was a 5-star, the system finally couldn't hold it anymore and issued a series of laughs with a mechanical sound. The first Emperor? Zheng Bin looked at the card in his hand with some surprise. Zheng Bin, who was a Huxia in his previous life, has a very special feeling for the most famous emperor of the Huxia Empire in the world. Does the host want to equip it? No. The heroic spirit card has been stored. Zheng Bin, who was finally done and ready to rest, suddenly heard the doorbell ring. "Ben, are you there?" "Huh? Is Gwen here?" Zheng Bin hurried out of the living room and opened the door. As soon as the door opened, he was hugged tightly by a soft body. Gwen buried her head in his chest, choking with sobs, and said, "Ben, where have you been these 2 days? I can't get in touch with you by phone, and I can't find you at your school. I'm so worried." Zheng Bin thought that this task would be solved quickly like the previous one, so he left without telling Gwen, who knew that the battle with the King of Conquerors took a whole day and night. Gwen was very anxious about Zheng Bin's sudden disappearance. She couldn't find him anywhere and thought that her super ability boyfriend had an accident while completing a dangerous task. Zheng Bin felt that the fabric on his chest was wet with tears, and he held Gwen's chin with his hand and lifted her face. Her tears were still dripping down in strings, wetting her fair cheeks. Zheng Bin leaned over, kissed the tears on her cheek, and then gently pressed his lips on her plump lips. "I'm back. Don't worry." Discomfort quickly disappeared between the lips and teeth. The next day, Zheng Bin and Gwen walked out of the house together. Just as they opened the door, Peter Parker, who lived next door, also opened the door. Zheng Bin felt a little uncomfortable and didn't say anything. Gwen was the first to say, "Hi, good morning." Good morning." The three of them stood in front of the elevator and waited quietly. The main reason was that Zheng Bin and Peter Parker were a little awkward. Zheng Bin always felt that he had cheated on his brother, while Peter Parker felt that he had a crush on his brother's woman before. The two of them didn't know how to talk when they encountered such a scene. The three of them walked out the door of the apartment without saying a word. Gwen couldn't stand this atmosphere and asked, "Parker, I'm driving today. Do you want to go with us?" No, I won't disturb you two. I'm leaving first," Peter Parker said and ran away. Gwen, as usual, sent her boyfriend to the school gate before driving back to her own school. The first thing Zheng Bin did when he returned to school was to go to the office and greet the teachers of various subjects and explain why he had been absent from class for the past 2 days. Because he was going to apply for college in advance. If this incident left a bad impression on the teacher and affected his paper score, it would be troublesome. Zheng Bin explained that he had suddenly fallen ill these 2 days and was alone at home, so he forgot to ask for leave. The teachers in the school knew about Zheng Bin's family situation and expressed understanding and sympathy. Teacher Nasha even left him her phone number. She told him that if such a situation happened again in the future, he could call her. She would definitely rush over to take care of him carefully. Zheng Bin took the piece of paper with the phone number written on it and put it in his trouser pocket. In a ward of a hospital, Tony Stark was lying on the bed with an M4 drip. "I said I'm fine. I still have things to do." Busy getting into trouble? Pepper was sitting on the sofa beside her, flipping through documents and taking care of the patient. "You fainted on the top floor yesterday and really scared me to death. The doctor said you were severely dehydrated and malnourished, and you need to rest for a while. I tell you, they're just cheating money. I'm fine now." Pepper was unmoved. "Anyway, don't even think about walking out of this door until the doctor says you can leave." Suddenly, a man in a black suit and sunglasses and several policemen rushed into the ward. "Excuse me, what can I do for you?" Pepper stood up and stood in front of the police. One of the police took out his ID. "Hello, we are the team responsible for Mr. Stark's kidnapping case. We came here this time to ask Mr. Stark some questions." Pepper turned around and looked at Tony Stark with an inquiring look. Okay, ask whatever questions you have." Why didn't you show up when I was tortured to death? The leading man in a black suit took off his sunglasses and took out a photo from his arms. Mr. Stark, do you know this place? The location of the photo is exactly the desert where Zheng and the Conqueror King fought that day. Because their battle was so fierce, the gaps between the fine sand were strongly squeezed, making this desert harder than asphalt. At that time, Tony Stark was in poor health and didn't notice the situation. But today, when he saw this photo, he immediately recognized it. This must be the masterpiece of the pirate and the Conqueror King. Tony Stark pretended to be stupid. What is this? I haven't been to this place. Who has so much time to build a road in the middle of the desert? The man in black chuckled and took out 2 more photos from his arms. One photo was taken of the first-generation Mecca that he left on the roof of the Stark Industrial Building yesterday. There was a patch missing on the right hand. The other photo shows a piece of iron that looks the same color and material on the asphalt ground in the desert. Comparing the 2 photos, it is obvious that the iron piece fell from the Mecca. Tony Stark said stubbornly, "Where is this place? How can there be an iron piece for my Mecca? I have never been to this place." "Then may I ask, how did you get back, Mr. Stark?" "I don't know either. I fainted in the desert and returned to New York as soon as I woke up." The man in black smiled, took back all the photos, and put his business card on the bedside table in front of the bed. "It's okay, but if Mr. Stark suddenly remembers something, you can contact me. Because SHILD suspects that your incident this time is related to someone we have been keeping a close eye on." A $100 bill was blown by the wind and stuck to Zheng face accurately. This has been the nth time this week. Zheng took the bill off his face and put it in his pocket. In addition to money falling from the sky when walking on the street, he also picked up a lottery ticket on the ground when passing by the mall, and it was a winning lottery ticket. Zheng has replaced all the old TVs, refrigerators, and computers in his home with the lottery gifts in the past few days, and they are all the highest level goods in the mall. There are other old furniture and home appliances at home. If he goes to the mall more after school, he should be able to replace them all. Have I integrated any skills of Francis Drake? Yes, host. Francis Drake, as a famous pirate in history, obtained the golden rule by robbing. Any heroic spirit with this skill will have wealth that rivals a country and enviable looks and figures. The golden rule of Drake's card is be level, and the effect is pretty good. In addition to wealth, hasn't the host noticed the recent changes in his appearance? After listening to the system's words, Zheng began to pay attention to his appearance. His already handsome face is now perfect, especially his deep black eyes, which seem to be able to absorb people's souls. The lines on his body are smoother than before, and the shape of his 8 abdominal muscles and pectoral muscles has become more beautiful. His current appearance is no less inferior to the heroic spirits who are already beyond ordinary people. At school, many people notice the changes in Zheng appearance, especially girls. Some shy ones would blush as long as they looked at him, and the passionate ones would directly pounce on him. Recently, he has been entangled by Catherine, the captain of a school cheerleading team. Catherine has a pure appearance and a slender figure. Because of long-term cheerleading training, her waist is thinner than that of ordinary girls, but this thinness does not give people a feeling of skinny, and it looks very elastic. This is commonly known as the wasp waist. Moreover, Catherine is an out-and-out rich girl. She grew up in a good family, so she always reveals an arrogant look inadvertently, making people want to see what she looks like when she takes off her arrogance. Catherine walked to Zheng locker and took the initiative to talk to him. "Ben, where are you going after school? I know there is a good restaurant near the school. Let's go together?" "No, I have already made an appointment." Catherine showed an indignant expression. "Is it the girl who picks you up every day? Is she your girlfriend?" "Yeah." Catherine's eyes turned. "Then I will go out of the school gate with you." Zheng didn't care, and the two walked toward the school gate together. "Ben, here." Gwen saw Zheng coming out and waved happily, then saw a beautiful girl standing next to him, and her smile faded a little. "Ben, who is this? Can I introduce you? This is..." "Hello, I'm Ben's friend and his partner in biology class. Ben helped me a lot in class." Zheng and Catherine were indeed partners in biology class, But that was 2 years ago. Catherine was not as enthusiastic as she is now, but ignored him. On the contrary, Zheng, who rarely talked to the campus goddess, made mistakes frequently in class because of excitement. Really? That's good. If there's nothing else, we'll leave first. We have an appointment to have dinner in a restaurant today. After that, the two got in the car and left, leaving Catherine standing there with a look of resentment. The car drove for a while, and Gwen couldn't help but speak. Ben, does she like you? I don't think so. She didn't bother to talk to me before. You become so outstanding. It's normal for a woman to like you, but... Gwen said seriously, promise me that you can only let me, a girl, know about your super ability. In Gwen's opinion, super ability is the biggest secret for Zheng, and she wants to keep the secret to herself and doesn't want to share it with others. Zheng was puzzled. Why would I tell someone about my ability? I don't care. You have to promise me first. Okay, I promise. He really doesn't understand what these women are thinking. Gwen originally planned to drive the car to the fast food restaurant they usually go to. However, Zheng planned to treat Gwen to a good meal today, so he asked her to drive the car to the most expensive restaurant in New York. Will this be too expensive? Gwen knew Zheng's financial situation and was a little worried. Don't worry, I have made some investments recently and made some money. During this period, Zheng had several windfalls every day, picking up money in various ways, and now he has picked up almost $10,000. It is still no problem to spend money in a high-end restaurant. Usually, people dress up carefully when entering and leaving such restaurants, otherwise they will be easily turned away by the doorman. Today, Gwen and Zheng had a sudden idea and didn't have time to dress up, so they went in casual clothes. Thanks to the fact that both of them have outstanding looks and temperament, especially Zheng, with the addition of the golden rule, he looks even more noble. The two entered the restaurant smoothly. Black and white truffle pasta, foie gras with jam. Zheng read out a string of dishes from the menu, then handed the menu to the waiter. Let's order this much first. Thank you. Gwen looked at Zheng tenderly. It's great that you can bring me to a place like this, but I also love fast food restaurants, where we have many memories. Zheng smiled slightly, held Gwen's hand, and the two talked softly again. Because he found out that the person close to him had always won his life, he planned a kidnapping in the Middle East. Tony Stark ran to the restaurant to drink to drown his sorrows. Drunk, he vaguely saw the woman who saved his life and claimed to be a famous pirate in history. Staggering up, You are that pirate. Hey, no, where are your breasts? Where are they hidden? Show them to me. Drunkard Tony said, while reaching out to touch Zheng chest. Zheng grabbed Tony's hand, his face unfriendly, and his strength was so strong that he almost crushed his wrist. The time when he became a woman was definitely a black history for Zheng. Now someone came out to remind him of this. Tony Stark regained consciousness in a burst of pain. You let go, it hurts so much. Zheng snorted coldly and shook off his hand with force, and Tony Stark fell to the ground fiercely. Tony Stark sat on the ground and looked at the facial features of the man in front of him. With his extraordinary memory, he quickly matched the man with a female pirate in his memory. With such similar facial features, could this boy be the descendant of the female pirate? Tony, Pepper, who heard that her boss was drinking and getting into trouble everywhere, rushed to the scene and found Tony Stark sitting on the ground with a confused look on his face, and hurried forward to help him up. Why are you sitting on the ground? Get up quickly. Drink so much again, come, I'll take you home. Pepper supported Tony Stark and walked slowly out the door. At the moment, Zheng system issued a task. Hydra is gathering under this building, preparing to assassinate Tony Stark. Mission: save Tony Stark. Reward: draw a card once. Zheng had no good feelings for this man who had seen his dark history, and impatiently replied to the system in his heart. Why is it saving Stark again? Do you think I haven't seen the Iron Man movie? Didn't he live well without me? Because of the intervention of the heroic spirit, the world plot has been completely disrupted. Because you and the King of Conquerors made too much noise last time, all the terrorists in that base died. So the person who wanted Stark dead want to cooperate with HYDRA. This time, Hydra sent out their trump card. If you don't help, he will die. Okay, for the sake of drawing a card. He greeted Gwen, and under her worried eyes, Zheng walked into the bathroom of the restaurant. Use the system to open the heroic spirit library. Use this card this time. Just as Pepper and Iron Man walked out of the parking lot from the elevator, a group of strong men who looked like bad guys came out. Just two ordinary people. Do we need to help? The HYDRA people disdainfully said, they actually asked us to bring out our secret weapons. It's a waste of talent. Tony Stark has been studying mechas recently and has already figured it out. What's hateful is that he came out today without any equipment after drinking. He pushed Pepper behind him and asked in a deep voice, "Who sent you?" Dead man is not qualified to know. The big man smiled grimly, took out a pistol, and shot Tony Stark in the head. Pepper behind Tony Stark screamed, "Tony!" A silver shield blocked Tony Stark's way, and when the bullet hit the silver sphere, it made a violent collision sound. Ooh! Everyone raised their weapons and held their breath. You are not qualified to know my name. A man wearing the court clothes of the ancient emperor of the Celestial Empire and a crown on his head came over. His court clothes were sewn with blackbird feathers and dragon horns, which were very gorgeous. He was handsome to the point of being almost voluptuous, and his tall stature made him look extraordinary. As the emperor who unified the world in the Lost Belt and ruled for thousands of years, his royal power was greater than Solomon's. As the ancestor dragon, he also had a very high divinity. He walked over slowly, and every step was full of power, stepping on the hearts of everyone. The silver shield that blocked Tony turned into a sphere and returned to Zheng hand. He gently threw the silver ball in his hand, and the silver ball passed through the heads of all the Hydra present like a cannonball. Before the Hydra people could react to what happened, they fell one after another. A silver arm blocked the attack of the silver ball, and the silver ball was held in a hand, making a collision sound. Zheng showed an interested look. Anyone who has seen the movie knows that the owner of this arm is Winter Soldier. When he was about to change the shape of the silver ball, the system made a voice in his head. Wait a minute, host. Don't kill him first. He is a key figure in this world. Killing him will affect the development of the world. Winter Soldier was brainwashed by Hydra and is now an emotionless killing machine. He can't be killed, and he has to be prevented from completing his mission. He can only be injured. Zheng mind moved, and the silver ball broke free from Winter Soldier's hand, and then hit him with more violent attack. Winter Soldier hurriedly used his arm to block it. The silver ball and the arm made a huge amount of sound, and the arm made of the hardest metal in the world, vibranium, was broken just like that. Winter Soldier has used this arm for nearly 70 years, but no matter how big the battle is, it is still as hard as before. Now it's broken. Even though Winter Soldier has been brainwashed, he was still stunned for a moment. The silver ball continued to attack, hitting Winter Soldier's body at a speed that was too fast to be seen clearly. The speed of the silver ball was too fast, and the trajectory of its flight formed a series of phantoms. Even if Winter Soldier wanted to resist, it was too late, and he could only groan in the phantom. When the silver ball's attack stopped, Winter Soldier had already fallen to the ground motionless, with his limbs twisted, and huge amount of pain made him faint. Finally, the silver ball was in Zheng hand again. Tony Stark and Pepper watched in amazement as the man in front of them took less than 2 minutes to get rid of all the people. Tony Stark saw the face of the mysterious man and exclaimed, "Is it you?" Zheng did not reply to him, and the silver ball in his hand turned into 2 auspicious clouds. "Go up, I'll take you back." Tony Stark and Pepper sat in the auspicious clouds and floated over New York. Tony Stark had a lot of questions to ask Zheng, but Zheng in the state of the First Emperor looked aloof and difficult to approach, so he didn't dare to ask more questions. Zheng put them on the top floor of Stark Industries and left. "Quick, buy that building for me and get me the video of the parking lot." Tony Stark turned to Pepper, who looked sleepwalking, and shouted. After completing the task, Zheng got another chance to draw a card. He summoned the system and started to draw cards. As expected, it was another 5-star card, Gilgamesh, class Archer. Zheng prepared the essay and other application materials for the university and sent them to the most famous Ivy League universities in the United States. MIT, California Institute of Technology, Pennsylvania, Gotham University, Empire State University, a total of 12 universities, each of which responded to him and invited him to the school for an interview. He arranged interview time, and the first destination was Gotham University. Gotham University is located in the notorious Gotham City, which is a paradise for criminals and has the highest crime rate in the world every year. Although Gotham University has a strong faculty and is a famous old Ivy League university in Dacia, its enrollment rate has always been low. In order to prosper Gotham City, the most famous local company, Wayne Group, provides thousands of jobs to Gotham residents every year to promote employment. It also vigorously develops education and provides scholarships to many schools. Therefore, the scholarships at Gotham University are very generous, and this school is Zheng Bin's first choice. Zheng Bin was sitting in the train to Gotham, and the TV on the train was broadcasting the news. Recently, there have been many murders in Gotham. After police investigation, the methods of these cases were all committed by one person. The victims of the serial murder case are all women. The murderer's method of committing crimes is very cruel, and he dug out the women's uterus from their stomachs. The police call on women to try not to go out at night. Even if you go out, please find a male companion. After reading this news, Zheng Bin thought, it seems that this interview at Gotham University will reduce a large number of competitors. It takes great courage for ordinary people to come to Gotham, and such a bad case has happened. So even fewer people come. Zheng Bin put his luggage in the hotel, and at the moment it was almost dusk. He was a little excited for the first time leaving New York City since he was a child, and he was ready to have a good sightseeing in Gotham City. It is said that a huge amount of Batman logo will appear in the sky above Gotham City at night. This is Batman warning all the criminals in Gotham that he is the one protecting the city. And this sign has become the most famous attraction in Gotham City, and he is going to visit it. As the sky gradually darkened, many shops were closed, and pedestrians on the road were in a hurry and unwilling to stay on the street for long. Zheng Bin, who was walking and stopping along the way, was particularly conspicuous. Anyone who was interested could tell at a glance that he was a tourist. Several people exchanged glances and followed behind him. With Zheng Bin's current physical fitness, he naturally noticed that someone was following him, but he continued to stroll without caring. When he walked into a sparsely populated alley, several strong men who had already been impatient jumped out behind him and stopped him. These people all had money in their hands. One of them was holding a pistol, looking at Zheng Bin aggressively. Robbery. Zheng Bin raised his eyebrows. No money. The gangster loaded the pistol, pointed at Zheng Bin and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Take out all the money or I'll shoot you." Several other gangsters stood aside and threatened, "Look at you, a pretty boy. If you don't have money, you can also be caught and sold. You can kill both men and women, and you will definitely make a lot of money." Zheng Bin sneered and was about to take action when suddenly an iron claw flew over, hooked the gun in the gangster's hand, and snatched the gun away directly. A man wearing a cat ear hood, a tights, and a black tent jumped from a high altitude and landed right in front of Zheng Bin. "It's Batman!" Several people shouted loudly, trying to escape in panic. Batman stopped them in a few seconds, beat them up, and then tied them all up with a bundle of thick ropes and hung them on the highest iron frame in the building. After finishing all this, Batman turned to Zheng Bin and said to him with a voice changed by a voice changer, "Gotham's night is not safe. Go home as soon as possible." After that, he shook his cape, and the cape automatically turned into the shape of a glider and flew into the air. Zheng Bin looked up and admired Batman's heroic figure. Although I haven't seen the Bat-Light yet, I saw the mascot of Gotham City, which is not bad. Zheng Bin successfully completed his interview at Gotham University the next day. He returned to the hotel to pack his luggage and prepare to go home and wait for notification. "Host, I sense the breath of the heroic spirit. It's in Gotham City. Can you determine the location?" The system replied, "Yes, in Arkham Asylum." "Okay." Zheng Bin opened the system's heroic spirit library, looked at his newly drawn card, and decided to equip Gilgamesh. When he first drew this card, he noticed that his skills also had the golden rule, and the level was A, which was higher than Francis Drake's. He was eager to try this card at the time, and this time he had a chance. So he quickly equipped it first. Just like before, after a burst of light, Zheng successfully integrated with Gilgamesh. A man wearing golden armor and a pair of exaggerated earrings appeared in the hotel room. As soon as he equipped this card, Zheng was filled with boredom and irritability, and had the urge to destroy this world. What's going on? Host, you are affected by the character of Gilgamesh card. Gilgamesh is a tyrant in history. Cruelty and greed for pleasure are the character of this hero. This situation is very common. If you equip a hero card with negative image in history, you'll also have personalities such as bloodthirsty and as ***** Y. But all these negative emotions will disappear after the host removes the card, and there will be no sequelae. Okay. Zheng smiled. When listening to the system's explanation, he suddenly felt a little happy. He thought that the negative situations mentioned by the system were also very interesting. Host, in addition to recycling the hero card, there is a new task. Prevent the prisoners of Arkham from escaping from prison. Task reward, 1 card draw. Deeply influenced by Gilgamesh, Zheng felt offended and very unhappy that the system issued a task to him. He knew that he was affected by the character of the card, and he tried his best to suppress this emotion and flew towards the direction of Arkham Asylum. He just wanted to complete the task quickly and take off the damn card. Zheng just flew over Arkham when he heard a series of explosions. The prisoners filled the walls of Arkham with bombs, and the explosions came from there. The walls of Arkham Prison are specially made, and the first explosion only blew spiderweb-like cracks in the walls. After the first explosion, the prisoners immediately installed a second bomb on the wall. They piled a large number of bombs together and then detonated them. This time, the cracks in the wall became bigger. The prisoners cheered as if they saw hope, and continued to prepare to install the third bomb. Zheng just floated in the air, with a smile of pleasure on his lips, watching them busy below, and did not go down to stop them. When they think they have succeeded, they will go down to stop them, cut off their hope, and let them show desperate applications. Such fruits are the most delicious. The third, fourth, and fifth explosions sounded, and the wall finally cracked a relatively large gap. All the prisoners cheered and rushed to escape from this gap. Chains of heaven. At this moment, Zheng activated his treasure, and a golden chain was launched from behind him. The chain flew quickly around the wall of Arkham. The length of the chain of heaven is infinite, and circle after circle, it instantly surrounded the wall of Arkham tightly. F***K, what's going on? The prisoners on the ground found that the only gap was blocked by a pile of gold, and they cursed angrily. Several prisoners quickly brought a pile of bombs and piled them on the gap in the wall to detonate, hoping to blow up the gold. After trying several times, they found that there was no change, and many people showed despair on their faces. Even gods can't break free from the chain of heaven, let alone the power of this mere mortal. Zheng thought maliciously. Since the system said to prevent prisoners from escaping from prison, then letting them die in prison would be considered as completing the mission. System. Host, your idea is very dangerous. After receiving the alarm of the Arkham Asylum jailbreak, Batman drove the Batmobile to the scene at the fastest speed. As soon as he arrived at the scene, he saw the Arkham Asylum tightly surrounded by a large golden chain. A man in golden armor was floating in the sky above the asylum, and countless weapons behind the man were pointed at the direction of the asylum, ready to go. Batman hurriedly got out of the car and aimed the iron hook on his wrist at the mysterious man and shot. The other party didn't even look at him and dodged with a shake. Zheng lowered his head and looked at the person who dared to attack him. Seeing the other party's dress, he smiled. "It's you, Batman." "Who are you?" "You don't deserve to know my name." Batman said in a deep voice, "No one can kill people in my Gotham." "Ha ha ha ha." Zheng laughed up to the sky, and his tears were about to come out. When he stopped, there was still a smile on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of malice. "You really deserve to be the patron saint of Gotham. Even the bastards in Arkham Asylum are under your protection. Almost everyone here was arrested by you, and you know how many lives they have taken. The funny thing is that even so, you still insist on your so-called justice and dare not kill them. Then what about those who died tragically? Those innocent people, why is there no one to protect them? They can't even get justice after death. After hearing this, Batman's expression did not change at all. I will guard Arkham and let them stay in it for the rest of their lives to atone for their sins. Zheng felt the pain from his soul from the other party's calm expression and smiled happily. It's been a long time since I met someone as interesting as you. Since you like to struggle in your own justice, I will do as you wish. Please me with your pain. After saying that, Zheng took back all the treasures in the sky. Ha ha, that's great. Our ideas are exactly the same. Look at how funny his pain is. It seems that we are the same kind of people. A man with exaggerated Joker makeup on his face walked out of the crowd. He opened his hands and made a welcoming gesture. Do you want to create happiness with me? A golden spear shot out from behind Zheng and instantly pierced Joker's shoulder. Then the spear directly pierced Joker's wound, lifted him from the ground, and flew in front of Zheng. Joker let out a painful wail, and cold sweat smeared the rough makeup on his face. Who are you talking about? A rat in the gutter, a coward. After saying that, a golden sword popped up behind him and slowly stopped at Joker's neck. Go to hell. No. Batman shouted on the ground. Let go of my mother. A girl with short white hair jumped from the ground to the air like a cannonball, holding a dagger in each hand, and swung at Zheng, interrupting his action. Joker also fell from the air. The girl hugged Joker tightly, used her body as a meat shield, and slammed hard on the ground. The injured Joker kept coughing out the blood in his mouth and smiled brightly with his cracked lips. You are back. Jack, how's your fun today? It's not fun today. I didn't find a sister to play with me. I'm really sorry that I didn't bring my uterus back today, Mom. It's okay. Mom just wants Jack to be happy. Jack's happiness is the most important thing. Host, this is a heroic spirit I detected in Gotham. Jack the Ripper, level 5 stars, class assassin. All the information about Jack the Ripper was transmitted to Zheng brain. This heroic spirit is not a traditional heroic spirit. Her true form is the resentment of tens of thousands of abandoned children. She has a strong desire to return to the womb, so she will disembowel women and take out their wombs. She will ask the master, whether male or female, to give her motherly love. Joker has neither a command seal nor magic power, but he can make Jack the Ripper so dependent on her. Seeing him accept the title of mother calmly, it turns out that perverts are different. Batman can infer from the conversation between the girl and Joker that the girl is the murderer of the recent serial murders in Gotham. The girl looks to be only 14 years old at most. Such a young child was used as a murder tool by Joker. Batman has never been so angry. How dare you hurt my mother? I will kill you. The girl shouted, rushed up from the ground, and quickly waved the daggers in both hands. The scum formed by the dirty things dare pollute the eyes of this king. Zheng cursed in a low voice, took out the gun from the treasure house, and quickly blocked the opponent's actions. Jack the Ripper did not have the ability of flight. She jumped into the air by bouncing and fought with Zheng in the air. Not long after, she fell to ground again and then jumped again. Chains of heaven. Zheng shouted, and the chains that were originally wrapped around Arkham immediately flew back to his side, trying to wrap him up. However, Jack the Ripper's jumping speed and hand speed were very fast, and the king's chains could not keep up with her speed. Because of the departure of the heaven's chains, the gap in Arkham was reopened, and the prisoners rushed to get out of the gap. Batman immediately stepped forward and beat them back one by one. Although Gilgamesh's current class is Archer, he prefers to be a caster, throwing the treasures in the king's treasury. He really doesn't like close combat. It's not because he is not good at it, but he doesn't want to be so close to these bastards. Release! Disintegration of the Virgin. Jack the Ripper released the treasure, and her hands turned into 4 daggers, and her movements became faster. In a moment of carelessness, Zheng cheek was scratched with thin scratch, and soon blood oozed out. Well, be asterisk 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 D. You really be asterisk 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 D me off. Zheng face was expressionless, but the pressure released from his body made people feel how angry he was. Release. The all-knowing and all-powerful star. Zheng Bin released the treasure, and a shining light, like starlight, surrounded him. This treasure can help him see through the true face of his opponent. The movements of Jack the Ripper were now infinitely slowed down in his eyes. He could predict the next move of his opponent. The heavens chain was in tune with his mind, and quickly attacked and entangled Jack the Ripper. Zheng Bin saw Jack the Ripper struggling tightly and sneered, and inserted the gun in his hand into her chest without hesitation. Her struggle stopped, and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. The body gradually turned into spirit particles, and before she completely dissipated, she turned her head with all her strength, looked at Joker on the ground, and shouted, "Mom." Congratulations to the host for recovering the heroic spirit Jack the Ripper, and has been put into the heroic spirit library. Zheng Bin looked at Batman, who was beating the prisoners on the ground, smiled lightly, and turned away. He knew Batman would help him complete the task. After flying back to the hotel, Zheng Bin originally planned to remove the heroic spirit equipment, but he noticed that someone was hiding in his room. "Get out." A woman with a cat mask on her face and wearing a black tights came out. "I guessed right, you live here." Zheng Bin looked Catwoman up and down, showing a playful smile. Catwoman approached with soft steps and put her hand on Zheng Bin's shoulder. "Aren't you curious about why I'm looking for you?" Zheng Bin pushed Catwoman against the wall, tied Catwoman's hands with one hand, and raised them above her head. "It's just a female cat in heat. What's there to be curious about?" Catwoman looked at Zheng Bin's arrogant eyes and felt her blood boiling. It was this look. She had just learned that a prisoner had escaped from Arkham, so she hacked into the nearby CCTV to see the excitement of Batman. Who knew that she would see this man? His appearance, his strength, and his arrogant eyes all made Catwoman so fascinated. She compared the man's appearance and checked Gotham's hotel records without hope. She actually found the man's residence. Catwoman's delicate half-face exposed in the air, slowly approaching Bin's ear, and her plump red lips opened slightly. "But what should I do if I'm curious about you?" Zheng Bin, who was taking a shower, heard the system prompt, "Congratulations, host. The mission has been completed. Get a chance to draw a card." All this was within his expectations. Batman really didn't disappoint him. He wrapped the towel around his waist and walked out of the bathroom. The room was empty. Zheng Bin stayed in New York for 2 days and drew a card. This time, he drew a card that was not 5-star. Siegfried, 4-star, class saber, swordsman. Zheng Bin looked at the life of this heroic spirit and found that he had a lot of connections with his first heroic spirit card, Altria. Then he started to attend university interviews in different cities. It took more than half a month to finally complete all the interviews. Some of the interviews overlapped, so Zheng Bin had to equip the Conqueror King and use the God Wheel to rush. In the end, 11 of the 12 schools gave him offers, and only Gotham University sent him a rejection letter. Zheng Bin was still very confident in his studies. Since he integrated a small part of Solomon's true wisdom, he became more adept at studying, and his academic level has far exceeded that of most undergraduates. So there's only one possibility for being rejected. That is, he was exposed. Batman certainly doesn't want a dangerous person like Gilgamesh to appear in his city. Because Zheng Bin wrote a very profound essay for the university application, and some of the theories were even those professors had never seen before, but they were proved to be feasible after calculation. Zheng Bin performed very well in the on-site interview, and he spoke eloquently and meaningfully, which impressed all the interviewers. Therefore, 11 schools expressed their high regard for him and gave him a full scholarship. Finally, after careful consideration, Zheng Bin chose the Department of Mechanical Engineering of Empire State University in New York. After replying to the email of Empire State University, Zheng Bin could wait for the fall semester in August with peace of mind. There are still 3 months before the start of school, although he is no longer short of money because of the superposition of the golden rules of 2 heroes. However, he still found himself an internship job, Hammer Industries. You little brats, it is your blessing to find an internship job in our company, you know. Work hard for me. Although Hammer Industries is far inferior to Stark Industries, it is also the second largest arms company in the United States. Those who can come to this company for internship are all top students from famous schools and proud children of heaven. Many interns rolled their eyes when they heard what the manager said. I thought I could learn professional knowledge in this company, but I didn't know that I would do all kinds of odd jobs. I studied mechanics, and now they asked me to sort parts and count inventory every day. All the interns were complaining. Only Zheng was busy with his work and didn't say anything. It's easy to imagine how the company could let a group of short-term interns get in touch with the core departments. For Zheng, even if he was just doing odd jobs, he was constantly absorbing knowledge. His job was also to sort out the parts needed by the R&D department and count inventory. All he had learned from books before was theoretical knowledge, and this was the first time he had the opportunity to face so many real parts. He had a natural sensitivity to mechanics, and was able to combine these parts with the theories in his memory to restore various weapons in his mind. After a period of internship, he could even develop new weapons in his mind. He drew his idea into a drawing. The weapon on the drawing was a musket, which was inspired by Francis Drake's weapon. Francis Drake's musket is very old-fashioned, but the laser he emits is extremely powerful. The musket of the hero is made of spirit particles, which is a projection of human cognition, and the laser it emits is another form of magic. But he wants to try to use modern science to make this musket in reality. During his work, Zheng would write and draw on the drawings whenever he had inspiration. The musket on the drawings was carefully marked with various parts. "What are you drawing?" Immersed in the drawings, Zheng raised his head and looked at the other party. A man with disheveled hair and naked upper body was looking at him with a gloomy face. Zheng really loves machinery. When he studies, he will be completely immersed in it. For a moment, he didn't even notice the other party approaching. "This is the weapon I came up with recently." The man stood beside Zheng and looked at the drawings, lost in thought. "Hey, Mr. Vank, just tell me what you want. You don't need to come to the warehouse in person." A man in a suit ran down panting. "If Mr. Hammer knew, he would blame me." Ivan Vank pointed at Zheng beside him. "I want this person to be my assistant." Mr. Hammer, Mr. Vank said he wanted an intern to be his assistant. "What intern? The work we are doing now must be kept completely confidential." How come an intern suddenly appeared? Justin Hammer asked dissatisfiedly. At that time, Mr. Vank ran to the warehouse, looked at the drawings of this intern, and said he wanted to find him as an assistant. "What drawings?" "It's a drawing with a detailed structural diagram of a musket." I thought it was something amazing, but when I heard about the musket, Justin Hammer immediately lost interest and waved his hand. "Try to meet Mr. Vank's requirements. Remember to do a background check on the intern." Ivan Vank took Zheng to his studio. "Take a look at these mecha drawings." Zheng took it and read it carefully. "Is this a copy of Iron Man's mecha?" "Yes." Ivan Vanko said gloomily, "I can copy the missiles on the shoulders and legs, as well as the flamethrower, but I can't make the palm cannon on his hand armor. Even if I make it, it will be a waste that can only be fired once or twice before it breaks down. Your drawings have given me a lot of inspiration. Please cooperate with me to complete the mecha." Zheng couldn't ask for more. "I simulated it in my mind for so long some time ago, and finally I have the opportunity to experiment." He worked with Ivan Vanko in the studio day and night to develop mechas. During this period, Justin Hammer also showed up several times to speed up the progress. After the two of them developed a stable palm cannon together, Ivan Vanko let Zheng complete the rest of the mecha work alone, and he studied his own whip rope based on the operation mode of the palm cannon. Zheng knew that the other party was studying his whip mecha, but this was also part of the plot, and there would be no major problems, and he did not need to intervene. While making the mecha, Zheng also made his own musket. This pistol borrowed the model of the palm cannon, but because the slots were made inside to compress the power was greater than the palm cannon. All the power was compressed in such a pistol, so its recoil was very strong and ordinary people could not bear it. For this shortcoming, Zheng could not think of a solution for the time being. Anyway, this gun was only used by him for the time being, so it didn't matter much. Although it had great defects, this gun could be regarded as a top weapon in this world. Unlike the plot, this time because of Zheng Bin's existence. Ivan Vanko successfully completed the mecha and handed it over to Justin Hammer. Soon, it was a day for Hammer Industries to display the mecha. For this reason, Hammer Industries also specially held a ceremony and invited many people to watch the ceremony on the spot. Host new mission released. Save Tony Stark. Reward card draw 1. Why save Tony Stark again? This is the nth time. Zheng Bin complained. I have to save him every time I see him, right? The system was very aggrieved. Host, you can't blame me for this. Originally, Hammer's robot could only fire rockets at most, and its movements were slow and clumsy. It was you who improved it, added palm cannons, and changed the mobility of the limbs. It greatly increased the difficulty of Tony Stark's clearance. You have to solve the mistakes you made yourself. TSK, I know. After Zheng Bin finished speaking, he continued to stay backstage and give the mecha a final check. Host, don't you transform? The system asked curiously. No need. After Justin Hammer's coquettish opening remarks, rows of unmanned fighters rose from the lifting platform to the stage. The last one to rise was the mecha developed by Tony Stark and controlled by his friend James Rhodes, War Machine. This is the unmanned mecha of Hammer Industries. Suddenly, a red and gold robot flew from the sky and landed on the stage. The whole audience suddenly heard a thunderous sound. Tony Stark said to War Machine anxiously, "We have to evacuate the people here quickly, otherwise it will be dangerous." As soon as the voice fell, the rows of robots standing behind suddenly turned on. All raised their hands and pointed at Tony Stark. Damn it! Tony Stark knew that Ivan Vanko was targeting him, and hurriedly flew into the sky to attract firepower. The robot's hand also raised with his movement, firing a palm cannon at the ceiling. Laser after laser instantly broke the ceiling, illuminating the night as bright as day. Seeing that Tony Stark was not shot down, the robot also turned on the flamethrower under his feet and chased in his direction. Tony Stark talked to War Machine while dodging the laser cannon with difficulty. Damn it! This must be Vank's masterpiece. I don't believe that Hammer, that rubbish, would have such a level. You should think of a way quickly. Their firepower is too dense. War Machine, who was controlled like the Hammer mecha, shouted. Suddenly, all the Hammer mechas stopped in midair, and then exploded one after another. War Machine was also released from control. What happened? Haha, it turns out that self-destruction is in line with the standards of Hammer Industries. Tony, be careful. Another mecha is catching up. Tony Stark saw the two familiar whips held by the mecha. It's Ivan Vank, follow me. After that, he flew to the suburbs with War Machine, and the whip rope followed. At the moment, in the backstage of Hammer Industries, Zheng Bin put his mobile phone back in his pocket. When he was making the mecha, he added the self-destruct mode and linked the mode startup program to the mobile phone. After all the mechas flew up to the sky and posed no threat to the ground, Zheng Bin immediately started the program. Host, don't you want to go over and take a look? No. Without the destruction of the Hammer mecha, Tony Stark can handle Ivan Vanko alone. You keep an eye on the situation over there, and tell me if anything unexpected happens. At the moment, Justin Hammer led a group of people toward Zheng Bin. He and Ivan Vanko did the research together. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just a businessman, and I don't know anything. When Pepper saw Zheng Bin's face, she was stunned. Isn't this the boy who saved her and Tony Stark in the underground parking lot before? At that time, they retrieved a video of the underground parking lot, and Tony Stark pulled her to watch it repeatedly many times, which made her very impressed with the boy's appearance. Several men in police uniforms grabbed Zheng Bin's hand and said, "You are under arrest." Pepper said quickly, "Wait a minute, is there any misunderstanding?" No one answered her, and the police took Zheng Bin and left directly. Justin Hammer smiled at Pepper, but before he could be proud for a few seconds, the other two policemen came over and caught him. "You are also arrested, come with us." This incident has caused great harm to society, especially since Hammer made mechas in the name of the military, and the government attaches great importance to it. The police kept sending people into the interrogation room to interrogate Zheng Bin. No matter how many times they asked, Zheng Bin always gave the same answer. He was just an intern, and the mechas were only made according to Ivan Vanko's requirements. The police station has a method of torturing people, which is to make people sit in the interrogation room, not allowing them to rest, not giving them food and drink, and then sending multiple policemen to interrogate them in a wheel-like manner, which is a double torture of the mind and the body. Many prisoners are tortured and mentally weak, so naturally anything can be pried out. Zheng Bin is facing the situation now. He has been in the interrogation room for a day and a night, and policemen keep coming in and out to question him. However, for him, whose body is far superior to that of ordinary people, this operation is not a big deal. Finally, a tall black man came into the interrogation room. He had an eye patch on his left eye, and a scar was revealed on the patch, which made his already unpleasant appearance look even more ferocious. He sat opposite Zheng Bin. I didn't expect that we would meet in this occasion. I have always wanted to meet you. Let me introduce myself first. I am Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hello. Mr. Zheng, we have been paying attention to you for a long time. Nick Fury said, took off the watch on his wrist, and tapped the screen. A light screen was projected on the watch, which was playing a scene of Zheng Bin's first transformation into King Solomon in the restaurant. Then the scene changed, and he turned into the first emperor and manipulated the silver ball in the garage, except for the time when he transformed into Francis Drake. Basically, every time he transformed was recorded. You call yourself King Solomon, Qin Shi Huang, Gilgamesh. These are the names of kings in history. What is your ability? Sorry, no comment. Nick Fury looked unhappy. If you don't cooperate with me, do you believe I will let you stay in prison until you die? I don't think so. Zheng Bin smiled, and with a slight movement of his hands, he tore off the shackles on his hands. I can flatten this police station in an instant, but I have been cooperating with your investigation. Doesn't this prove my goodwill towards you? Nick Fury did not comment. I can't trust someone I don't know. Your trust is not important to me, nor to the world. If I want to destroy the world, even if you don't believe me, you can only choose to bear it. Your idea is too arrogant. Zheng Bin smiled. Director Nick Fury, I have never had any ill will towards this world. You can stop testing me. If you are willing to accept the supervision of our S.H.I.E.L.D., I can believe that you have no ill will towards S.H.I.E.L.D. Zheng Bin really wanted to applaud the director's shamelessness. Supervisor? No one in this world is qualified to say this to me. All of Zheng Bin's mail cards are famous kings in ancient times. Multiple equipments make the king power of each hero superimposed on him. As long as he wants, he can release the king power hidden in his body. Nick Fury now only feels that all the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Even if Zheng Bin is just looking at him expressionlessly, he feels an unprecedented threat. Cold sweat seeps from his forehead, and he can't help but put his hand on the gun at his waist. Zheng Bin saw Nick Fury's appearance of being ready for battle, smiled lightly, and the king power that was originally oppressing him instantly dissipated. Nick Fury exhaled lightly. He was so nervous just now that he forgot to breathe, since becoming an agent. He hasn't felt this kind of fear for a long time, this feeling that life and death are only between the thoughts of others. Zheng Bin said, "Wait until you think it through and come and talk to me." Nick Fury walked out of the interrogation room, feeling like he had escaped. "Boss, Tony Stark just paid $3 million to bail him out. Do you want to release him?" Nick Fury did not answer, but asked, "Did you turn on a machine that suppressed mutant just now?" "It's turned on." He closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said helplessly, "Let's release him first." Even if he didn't release him, he couldn't do anything. As soon as Zheng Bin walked out of the police station, he saw Tony Stark wearing a pair of sunglasses, leaning on his flashy sports car, posing for him. And his girlfriend Gwen, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, was standing next to Stark. When she saw Zheng Bin coming out, she ran over and hugged him tightly. "Bin, how do you feel now?" Wenger let go of Zheng Bin and looked him up and down. Seeing that Zheng Bin looked radiant and didn't look like he had been in the police station for a day and a night, Wenger breathed a sigh of relief. "How did you get together?" "You filled in my name on the contact form of Hammer Industries. Someone notified me today that you were at the police station, and I rushed over immediately. But the police said your bail would be $3 million, and I don't have that much money. It just so happened that Mr. Stark also showed up at the police station and said he would bail you out. I waited with him until you came out. Zheng looked at Tony Stark. Thank you. I will pay you back tenfold. Tony Stark patted his shoulder. No need. You've saved me so many times. Isn't my life worth $3 million? One thing and one thing. I will pay you back. He had already received the reward for saving Tony Stark from the system. Okay. Tony Stark insisted that he was tough and stopped persuading him. Why did you go to Hammer Industries as an intern? If you want an internship, isn't my Stark Industries a better choice? Haven't you closed the industrial department and switched to New Energy? New Energy also needs to design machinery, and my battle suit also needs help. Not only because of the life-saving grace. Tony Stark admired such an excellent talent from the bottom of his heart after knowing that the hammer mech was improved and manufactured by the 16-year-old boy in front of him, and the other party's ability in mechanics would remind him of his youth, and he always felt very close. Let's talk about it later. Zheng, who had saved the other party several times in a row, felt that he should stay away from this troublesome spirit, which would be good for everyone. After Tony Stark drove away, Zheng and Gwen also went to the parking lot behind the police station to get their cars. As soon as he entered the parking lot, Zheng found that there was an obvious dent in the front headlight of Gwen's red Honda. Zheng asked, "What happened to your car?" "It's okay. I just accidentally hit it. It's not too serious." "Did you hit it on the way here just now?" "Well, I was too anxious just now and bumped into other cars. I can take it to the repair shop to fix it later," Gwen said as she walked to the automatic toll machine next to the parking lot. When she was about to take out her wallet to pay the parking fee, her hand suddenly stopped, and she turned her head and looked at Zheng with an embarrassed smile. "I just gave all the cash I had on me to the other party because I couldn't wait for the insurance company to come. Do you have any money on you now?" Zheng didn't know why, but when he saw Gwen smile, he suddenly felt distressed. He couldn't help but hug his girlfriend who had been ignored by him for a whole holiday and said softly, "You've worked so hard." Gwen dared to release all the grievances and fears in her heart at this time, and cried breathlessly while hugging Zheng. During this period, she knew that Zheng was busy applying for college and internships, and she had been trying hard to learn to be a considerate and sensible girlfriend. But she really missed him and didn't dare disturb him too much. Every time she called, she would say a few words to Zheng and hang up in a hurry, especially just now. She knew that Zheng was in the police station, and she was really too panicked. So she had a car accident on the road. After venting in Zheng arms, Gwen wiped the tears from her face and showed a bright smile. "I'll take you to eat first, then take you home to rest, okay?" Zheng nodded, took out his wallet to pay for parking, and went to a fast food restaurant they usually ate with Gwen, because this is the restaurant they often go to. When Gwen missed her boyfriend before, she would drive here alone. This time, she finally didn't have to eat alone. She looked at Zheng who was eating a hamburger, and smiled happily. After returning home, Zheng simply washed up and called the system. When he was at the police station, he had already received a reminder that the task was completed, and now he had another chance to draw a card. "Host, do you choose to draw a card now?" "Yes." "Start drawing a card." The card drawing page popped up, except for a few cards he collected, which could show the details of the card and the appearance of the heroic spirit. The rest of the cards only had one back, which was full of magic patterns. A light spot quickly rotated back and forth on the card, and finally stopped on a card. The card turned over. "Congratulations to the host. It's still a 5-star card. Xuanzang Sanzang, 5-star level caster magician." Although he was used to the fact that the heroic spirits of the system were always inconsistent with the images of historical figures in his memory, he was still very surprised to see this card. Tang Sanzang is a household name in the Celestial Empire. When he was a Celestial in his previous life, he was also familiar with the story of Journey to the West. This Tang Sanzang not only has his gender changed, but his outfit is also... It is completely inconsistent with his impression of a serious and noble person. But from a man's perspective, Zheng Bin took the card in his hand and admired it for a while, and then asked the system to put it in the library. A few days later, Zheng Bin's college life officially began. As soon as he entered school, he received the attention of the whole school, not only because he was the youngest student in his class, but also because of his appearance. After equipping Gilgamesh and getting the A-level golden rule, his appearance has reached a higher level. His current appearance can be said to be the top that humans can achieve. Both his face and figure are flawless. Coupled with his superimposed kingly power and divinity, the whole person exudes a charm that makes people want to surrender. His appearance makes all the girls in the school crazy. Many people are asking about his major when they know that he is only 16 years old. Many girls, especially those who are a little older and in their 20s, express their willingness to wait for him to become an adult. When the course of mechanical engineering started, he found that the professor of this major could no longer teach him anything. He had already self-taught all the majors, and during the internship at Hammer Industries, he also had sufficient practical experience. He was unwilling to waste time on these courses, so he took his own papers published in authoritative weekly magazines to see the department head. After a whole afternoon of conversation, the department head agreed to Zheng Bin's request to skip a grade. The next day, Zheng Bin successfully skipped a grade and became a senior student in the mechanical department. At the same time, he also applied for a double degree in electrical engineering and physics in the second year. He was very interested in these two majors when he was a high school student, and he had self-taught for a period of time, but he did not study them as deeply as mechanical engineering. After staying in the mechanical major for a while, Zheng Bin graduated early in just one semester. At this time, he also spent his 17th birthday. His birthday party was very warm and simple. It was organized by Gwen, and only Peter Parker and Aunt May, who had a good relationship with Zheng Bin, were invited. After getting Zheng Bin's consent, Peter Parker brought his good friend Harry Osborn with him. Harry Osborn had met Zheng Bin before when he came to Peter's house, but they were not close friends. In his impression, Zheng Bin was still the thin Asian boy. After seeing Zheng Bin now, he was just shocked and couldn't help but sigh. "Zheng Bin, your appearance is simply a gift from God." After knowing that Zheng Bin, who was 1 year younger than them, had skipped a grade and completed his university studies in mechanical engineering, he was even more impressed. "My father always said that I was not as good as Peter, and that he was a real genius. If he knew you, he might never have me as his son in his eyes again." Although Harry said the above words in a joking way, he couldn't help but reveal a lonely look in his eyes. Peter Parker felt his friend's frustration and patted his shoulder to comfort him. Zheng Bin suddenly remembered that this Harry Osborn was the little green goblin in Spider-Man. He was forced to become a villain because of genetic disease, and finally turned against his good friend since childhood. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but pat Harry's other shoulder. This buddy is too miserable. The days passed peacefully and fulfillingly, until one day, a news appeared on TV. Recently, many children have fallen into a deep sleep, and their body functions are not seriously impaired. After testing by the hospital, it was confirmed that these children were just in a sleeping state, but no treatment method has been found yet. Interviewed many parents of the victims, all of whom said that they had taken their children out to play before the children fell into a coma. In addition to most of the children falling into a coma, a small number of adults also had the same situation. What exactly caused it? We have to wait for further investigation by the New York Police Department. Host! This should be a heroic spirit. The system that had not spoken for a while suddenly spoke in Zheng Bin's mind. Should... Zheng Bin was surprised. This was the first time he heard such an uncertain word from the system. Yes, I felt the breath of heroic spirit some time ago, but it disappeared very quickly. I didn't report it to you because I didn't understand the situation. What's going on? If the heroic spirit is too far away, or if the heroic spirit does not exist in the real world but is buried in human consciousness, I will not be able to detect their existence. Do you know who this heroic spirit is now? If I'm not mistaken, this heroic spirit should be Tong Yao. Tong Yao, level 4 stars, class caster magician. Information about Tong Yao appeared in Zheng Bin's mind. Like Jack the Ripper, Tong Yao is not the incarnation of a hero. It is a general name of a real picture book that carries the dreams and fantasies of children. Do I have to fall asleep before I can connect to the nursery rhyme? Zheng Bin asked the system. Yes. What kind of choice does a nursery rhyme have for adults? It must be a person with a pure heart. Zheng Bin thought to himself that his character was not really a pure person. He thought of a way and decided to try it when it was time to go to bed. Time passed quickly and night had fallen. System, help me equip Siegfried. Okay. After a burst of light, Zheng Bin was already wearing Siegfried's equipment, and he was wearing a helmet with 2 rhinoceros horns on his head. He lay flat on the bed, ready to sleep, but his helmet kept blocking his back, making him sleep uncomfortably. He had to take off the helmet and lie down again. He emptied his thoughts and fell into a deep sleep in a short while. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in an endless grassland with many colorful butterflies flapping their wings in the grass, and the whole scene looked magnificent with the dusk in the distance. Host, you have entered Tong Yao's dream. Siegfried is a character in Norse mythology. Many myths belong to children's books. He thought about transforming into Siegfried to see if he could be included in Tong Yao's dream. Sure enough, he guessed right. Although the scenery is beautiful, Zheng Bin knows that now is not the time to leisurely enjoy the scenery. Although he has the opportunity to approach Tong Yao's dream, he has also lost the advantage of fighting. This dream belongs to Tong Yao, which means that Tong Yao is invincible in his dream. There is no way to beat her by brute force, so now he can only find another way. Zheng Bin walked in the grassland while thinking. He didn't know how long he had walked. The time in the dream was not fixed. It could be 1 minute or 1 hour. The scenery of the grassland gradually disappeared and turned into a waterfall. Zheng Bin faintly heard the sound of laughter coming from the waterfall. He passed through the water curtain and entered the waterfall. The inside of the waterfall was not the dark stone cave he imagined, but a very warm-looking room with bright patterns painted on the walls and a huge amount of carpet on the ground, on which there were many toys and candies. Dozens of children were lying on the ground playing. Zheng Bin walked up and squatted beside the children. What are you doing? The children were playing with their toys by themselves, and no one responded to him. A closer look showed that the children's eyes were empty, as if they had lost their souls. Zheng Bin explored the cave for a while and walked out. Continuing to walk forward, he found that there were several identical waterfalls in front of him, and the situation inside was the same as the first cave. It seems that these children are not willing to stay here. Continuing to walk deeper into the dream, through a sea of flowers, Zheng Bin found a towering tree here, and a huge amount of wooden door was installed under the tree. He opened the wooden door and walked in. He found that the layout and decoration inside were the same as the cave in front. The difference was that there were a group of adults sitting on the carpet playing here. All of them bowed their heads and concentrated on playing with the toys in their hands. A group of adults made mechanical play movements here, which looked more weird than the caves just now. There was a door at the end of the tree hole. He walked over and opened the door. As soon as the door was opened, he found that there was a very cute study room inside. There was a wooden table in the middle of the study. Next to the wooden table sat a little girl wearing a brogue princess dress, who looked very delicate and cute. Hey there, new guests. Do you want to hold a tea party with me? The girl's childish voice sounded in his ears, as if someone was talking to him. Zheng Bin's fighting instinct made him raise the sword in his hand instantly. No, good children can't play with such dangerous things. As soon as the voice fell, the holy sword ball mug in Zheng Bin's hand turned into a huge amount of lollipop. Zheng Bin jumped up holding the candy in his hand and easily passed through the ceiling, standing on the top of the tree, and then jumped a few times on the branches and landed on the ground next to the tree. Tong Yao followed, waving her hands constantly, and a series of colorful patterns appeared in her hands and flew toward Zheng Bin. Zheng Bin dodged them one by one. Brother, are you playing a game with me? Tong Yao smiled innocently. Then, brother, try your best to escape. Don't get caught. As soon as the voice fell, the originally flat ground suddenly stretched out a handful of golden hair from the ground and attacked Zheng Bin. The golden hair could be extended infinitely, and the movements are very flexible. Zheng kept jumping and avoided the entanglement of the hair. This is the golden hair of Rapunzel. In the dream created by Tong Yao, she can change everything in the dream according to her own wishes. More and more golden hair emerged from the ground, and there was almost no open space on the ground for Siegfried to land, so he could only dodge with difficulty. Enough! A low voice of a boy sounded. Tong Yao, who was having a lot of fun, put away the smile on her face and showed an angry expression. Why are you here? The man who came was wearing the clothes of a prince in a fairy tale, and his blue eyes were as blue as the sea. This face was Captain America, who was very familiar to all Americans. Captain America had been sleeping in the sea for nearly 70 years. At the beginning, he was unconscious, but during the last period of sleeping in the sea, Tong Yao awakened his consciousness. In his consciousness, a dream was built, and there were only two of them in the dream. Captain America played house games with Tong Yao in the dream every day, perhaps because of the awakening of consciousness, or because Tong Yao used magic in his consciousness. Captain America's body in the ice rapidly decayed. If Captain America died, his soul could always accompany her in the dream. But if Captain America was gone, she would have to find someone again and rebuild the dream, and it was not easy to find someone with such a strong consciousness. Tong Yao had to use magic to break the ice around Captain America and let him float to the surface. Finally, Captain America was rescued. At this time, Captain America knew that he was not dead and asked Tong Yao to leave the dream. At first, Tong Yao refused to agree, but Captain America talked to her in a lecturing tone every day, which was too annoying. So she had to agree, and the two made an agreement. Captain America would come and play with her every night after falling asleep. But when Captain America woke up, there were too many things to do, and the rest time was getting shorter and shorter, and the time to accompany Tong Yao was getting less and less. Tong Yao was often alone and felt very lonely, so she decided to find someone else to play with her. After the first child came into the dream, he played with Tong Yao happily, but after a while, the child would clamor to go home to find his mother. Tong Yao used magic on him and turned him into a puppet. In this way, he could stay here forever to play with her. Soon, she felt bored again and found a few more children to come in for the second time. After a while, these children started to make noise again. She had to turn them into puppets again. Later, she felt that children would eventually miss home and it was more troublesome. So she started to attack adults. This repeated over and over again, and there were more and more people in her dream. Captain America not only has strong physical ability, but also has a steel-like will. It is because of this that Tong Yao can build such a big dream in his consciousness and collect so many souls. Captain America in the real world also noticed that the recent coma cases were all related to Tong Yao. He planned to enter the dream and rescue these people. However, Tong Yao, who used the captain's consciousness, felt the other party's anger, so he kept refusing the captain to enter the dream. Until just now, Zheng's invasion opened a gap in Tong Yao's dream, so Captain America entered smoothly. "Hurry up and let the people you trap go," Captain America said sternly. Tong Yao looked at him angrily. "I don't want it, you liar." After saying that, he continued to attack the two. After entering the dream, Captain America's clothes changed into the appearance of a prince, and even his weapon changed into a thin fencing sword. Without the shield, he could only dodge Tong Yao's attack in a panic. At this time, a golden hair wrapped around Zheng's ankle. "Ha, I caught it." Tong Yao stood there and clapped his hands happily. Zheng felt that the hair on his ankle was pulling him hard, as if trying to drag him away. He smiled, and the lollipop in his hand was wrapped by the blazing fire, and finally turned back into the appearance of a holy sword. "Have you had enough fun?" Tong Yao exclaimed. "How is this possible?" Zheng looked at Tong Yao with sharp eyes, and her murderous look made her take a few steps back. "You are the fantasy of children in the world, and I am a dragon slayer from Norse mythology. My story is also part of the fairy tale. Even you can't change the power of the fairy tale that originally belonged to me." Tong Yao waved her hand and continued to attack him with Rapunzel's hair, but was cut off by a sword. Dragon species are the top existence among all kinds of fantasy species. Siegfried, who has been bathed in dragon blood, undoubtedly has the strongest power in fairy tales. Zheng Bin has touched the reality of Tong Yao's dream. Tong Yao can no longer use magic to change his weapons or weaken his ability. Now he can exert his true strength in this dream. And Zheng Bin has also noticed that Tong Yao is now using Captain America's consciousness to construct a dream. Compared with Captain America's consciousness and his consciousness that has been strengthened by multiple heroic spirits, there is no comparison. He is too strong. Therefore, even in this dream woven by the other party, he is far stronger than Tong Yao. Tong Yao continued to create various beasts and animals that appeared in fairy tales to attack Zheng Bin. Zheng Bin killed them all with his greatsword. Zheng Bin, who had cracked the secret of this world, had begun to feel bored and didn't want to play house games with children anymore. Have you finished your moves? It's my turn. Tong Yao, who realized that something was wrong, stopped attacking, quickly flew behind Captain America, and grabbed the cloak of Captain America's prince costume with her hand. Captain America subconsciously raised his hand to protect her. Prince, save me. Tong Yao's childish appearance was too deceptive, so the upright captain couldn't watch her get hurt. He whispered to Tong Yao, "Can you let go of all the people you locked up here? They also want to go back to find their parents." Tong Yao, who was now in a disadvantageous situation, nodded quickly. Yes, yes. One by one, balls with soft light rose from the ground and flew into the sky. These are all the souls trapped here. I'll let them all go, he said with a flattering smile. Captain America's blue eyes looked at Zheng Bin with a pleading look. Tong Yao didn't hurt anyone. Can you let her go this time? I will keep an eye on her in the future. He felt that Tong Yao was just a child, but in fact she still had good intentions in her heart. Zheng Bin thought, what does it have to do with me whether she hurt anyone or not? I came here just to complete the system's task and recycle this card. Zheng Bin's kingship and divinity integrated into his soul now destined him to be someone who cares about human life. Even if he saw a human suffering in reality, he would never take the initiative to take action if it was not required by the system. This situation may have to wait until he integrates the soul of an emperor with benevolent attributes to change. But since he has become a king, which emperor would have such mercy? So Captain America thought that Zheng Bin wanted to take action against Tong Yao for the unconscious people. In his opinion, this idea was ridiculous. He would never agree to this request. Zheng Bin quickly moved forward and struck Captain America hard. His speed was so fast that Captain America was hit in the air before he could react, and then fell heavily to the ground. Zheng Bin released a treasure in his hand. The evil dragon will eventually fall. The world is now at sunset. I will shoot you down. Fantasy great sword demon fall Ba-Mung. Tong Yao was instantly torn apart by a dazzling light, and the dream was also torn apart. Captain America felt a sharp pain in his head and woke up from his sleep. Everyone who has entered Tong Yao's dream will forget what happened in the dream after waking up. But perhaps because Tong Yao's dream was once closely connected with Captain America, he never forgot what happened in the dream. And now he even remembers Zheng Bin's appearance very clearly. He now feels that Tong Yao has left his consciousness. Thinking of Tong Yao's young appearance, Captain America hammered the bed under him fiercely. Congratulations to the host. The heroic spirit Tong Yao has been successfully recovered and has been put into the heroic spirit library. After Zheng Bin got the heroic spirit card in the past, he would carefully study the data and life of the newly stored heroic spirit. But what he hates most is the naughty child, and he feels annoyed when he thinks of Tong Yao. I am too lazy to study her data, and I feel that I will not use this heroic spirit card in the future. Put this card at the bottom of the heroic spirit library. Okay, Zheng Bin is now spending his first winter vacation since entering college. Under the influence of the Golden Rule, he has made a fortune during this period. In addition to the pensions and scholarships he received from the government before, he now has nearly $200,000 in savings. After finishing the busy first semester, Zheng Bin began to think about how to make money. He still remembers that he still owes Tony Stark a debt. This world has companies such as Tony Stark, Osborn, and Wayne that are rich enough to rival a country. So now the U.S. economy is booming. At this time, one of the fastest ways to make money is to speculate in stocks. However, he has just turned 17 and has no way to open an account. He can only turn his attention to his good brother, Peter Parker, who is already an adult. What? Why did you suddenly think of investing in stocks? Nothing. I just want to have fun, but I'm not an adult yet. I need your help. Peter Parker was worried. You are too sudden. What if you lose money? You live alone now. You should save more money. Zheng now has the golden rule of 3 heroes, so even if he buys stocks randomly, he will definitely make money. However, in order to reassure Peter Parker, he continued to persuade him. Don't worry, I have studied it. I only invested $100,000 at the beginning, and I will stop if I lose money. It must be said that Zheng's genius aura is really impressive. Peter Parker was a little relieved after hearing this. His friend is so smart. He must have made this decision after careful consideration. Peter Parker spent a few days to complete the procedures, and then he and Zheng went online to choose stocks at home. Zheng didn't even look at them and randomly selected 5 companies whose stocks were falling and bought $20,000 each. The speed was so fast that Peter Parker, who was sitting next to him, widened his eyes. Wait, how can you choose so carelessly? Don't you need to take a closer look first? I've studied it. Zheng said nonsense seriously. Peter Parker looked at his appearance just now, and it didn't look like he had studied it. After selecting the stocks, Zheng put the matter behind his mind. Instead, Peter Parker kept thinking about it, fearing that his brother would lose money, and kept watching the stock trend every day. Today, Zheng accompanied his girlfriend, who hadn't seen him for a long time, to the New York Public Library to find information. Gwen saw that her boyfriend was so outstanding, and she began to feel a sense of crisis, hoping that she could become a woman who was more worthy of him. So she also found an internship job during this holiday in a biotechnology company, which was also the major she planned to study in college, and she had always been interested in this aspect. In order to keep up with the progress of a certain project of the company, Gwen could only use the weekend vacation time to go to the library to continue working hard. Captain America had a worse impression of Zheng after experiencing the Tong Yao incident. In his opinion, Zheng cold-blooded, cruel, and antisocial personality traits became more and more obvious. The next day after waking up, he ran to SHIELD to report to Nick Fury. After explaining the cause and effect, Captain America said seriously, I think this person is very dangerous. His strength is unfathomable. If he continues to be like this, it will definitely cause a disaster for the entire United States. Nick Fury didn't know on the surface, but he was shouting in his heart, Do you think I haven't taken any action? I didn't ask anything. I was threatened. Okay. But he would never tell others about such a shameful thing. He just nodded with an unfathomable look. I know. But to be honest, he didn't agree with Captain America's idea on Tong Yao. Judging from Tong Yao's ability, it is obvious that she is not human, and compared with Zheng, her approach is obviously less empathetic to humans. At least Zheng never hurt any innocent person, and he even saved many people. But Captain America is an old antique, and once he is prejudiced in his heart, he will not change easily. Nick Fury did not try to persuade him. Although he quite agrees with Zheng way of handling things, Nick Fury still turned on the computer, called up Zheng file, added Siegfried's name, and the other party's ability and dress described by Captain America, etc. Then he added another S to the column of danger level, SSS+, and Professor X, who was rolling on the ground holding his head at the moment, was the foreign aide that Nick Fury called. SHIELD and X Academy have always had private contacts. When SHIELD sometimes encounters some unsolvable and supernatural problems, it will ask for help from X Academy. The same is true for Xavier School. Both institutions exist for this world. Although there is sometimes some conflict of interest, the relationship is generally good. Nick Fury still hasn't figured out what Zheng ability is, so he asked Professor X to explore Zheng ideas. Unfortunately, Professor X's opponent this time is the system. If the existence of the system is discovered, it is very likely to expose the existence of the multidimensional universe and affect the survival and development of mankind. For Chaldea, the Human Survival Guarantee Agency, the existence of the system must not be discovered by people in this world. Therefore, they also worked hard to keep the system confidential. No matter who it is, no matter what kind of ability, as long as they want to detect the host's heart, soul, and brain, they will be attacked fiercely. Professor X is still alive after being attacked by the system. Zheng sighed in his heart. He really deserves to be one of the strongest mutants in the world. Professor, a group of boys and girls who didn't know where they were hiding just now rushed out. What did you do to the Professor? A tall beauty with long red hair shouted angrily at Zheng. Jeanne, stop. Professor X endured the pain and gritted his teeth and shouted, You are no match for him. Gwen, who heard the noise, came over and said, Ben, what happened? Are you blind? Your friend attacked our professor. Didn't you see it? A boy with a pair of weird glasses replied angrily. What did you say? Zheng looked at the boy who just spoke and released his power. Who do you think you are talking to? Everyone felt the pressure from a boy in front of them. This dangerous feeling made several people release their abilities immediately. Some people had flames on their palms, and some people had electric current on their hands. Everyone took a defensive posture. The boy who was stared by Zheng received the most pressure. His legs were weak, and he almost fell to the ground. Sorry, I apologize for my students. He said the wrong thing. The slightly relieved X-Man said to Zheng sincerely, I also apologize for my offense just now. When Professor X just entered Zheng mind, he had never seen such a broad heart. The boy's heart is more vast than the universe. Before he can explore it carefully, a powerful force attacks him. This overwhelming force makes him feel scared. He has never seen such a powerful person. Zheng was unmoved after hearing Professor X's apology. He rolled his eyes in his heart. Do you think you can come and go as you please here? Professor X saw that the other party had no intention of letting him go, and a pleading expression appeared on his face. I promise that I and my students will never disturb your life again. Who asked you to come? Zheng asked. Is it SHIELD? Professor X stopped talking, frowned, and showed a look of embarrassment. Zheng sneered. Okay, I know. This shitty SHIELD came to provoke him all day long, and what's more annoying is that every time the system issued a task to him, he would inadvertently help them. Zheng put away his kingly power, turned sideways, and signaled that they could leave. Professor X fled from the library with a group of people. Zheng was getting angrier and angrier now, thinking about how to cause trouble for S.H.I.E.L.D. Suddenly, he felt the gaze from the side and turned his head to see Gwen's eyes sparkling, looking at him with admiration. Zheng felt funny in his heart. What's wrong, looking at me like this? I just think you are so handsome just now, especially when you protect me. Gwen buried her whole body in Zheng arms and hugged him tightly. You are my hero. After this incident, neither of them had any mood to study. Just after walking out of the door of the library, Gwen received a call from the internship company. After answering the phone, she showed a sad expression. Ben, I'm sorry. The company asked me to go back to work overtime temporarily, saying that there's an experiment that requires me to record data. Zheng felt a little uncomfortable. Why did he have to leave again not long after meeting? But on the surface, he could only pretend to be generous. Okay, then you go and get busy first. Gwen kissed him on the mouth and rushed back to the company. His girlfriend left, and there was no other arrangement today. He had to wander aimlessly on the street. After walking for a while, he felt that he was being followed again. In fact, this feeling of being followed has often occurred since the first time he transformed into Solomon. He could guess with a few thoughts that it must be someone sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. How could the suspicious director of SHIELD let him go so easily? Before, he didn't care, thinking that if they wanted to follow him, they could follow him. There was nothing wrong with his daily life. And if there was an emergency, it would be a simple matter to get rid of the person who was following him. But today, SHIELD actually sent someone to spy on his heart. This matter completely irritated him. Okay, if you want to follow me, right? Zheng was furious and hid in an alley with a few flashes. The person who was following him found that he had lost him and quickly ran into the alley. Zheng suddenly rushed out from behind a lamppost, stretched out his fist, and prepared to beat up the person who was following him. Suddenly, He found out from the corner of his eye that the person who was following him was the red-haired girl he had just seen in the library. He quickly deflected the direction of his fist. Who knew that because he had just used all his strength to punch, he suddenly changed his trajectory. His center of gravity was unstable, and he couldn't stand for a while and fell directly on the girl. His face was buried in the girl. Ah, it's so elastic. This was the first thought Zheng had when he fell. Ah! The girl pushed him away in a hurry. Her face flushed red, and she cursed. You pervert! After cursing, she stretched out her hand and wanted to slap him. Zheng quickly grabbed the girl's wrist and pushed her against the wall of the alley, saying helplessly, "This is an accident, okay?" The girl's hand movements were controlled, and she used her mind to lift the debris behind Zheng and wanted to smash him. He sensed the danger and immediately let go of his hand and dodged to the side. Seeing that she didn't hit him the first time, the girl continued to control the debris to hit him. Zheng was still very gentlemanly to the beautiful girl. He dodged left and right and didn't fight back. Calm down, okay? Did you see the girl in the library just now? That's my girlfriend. Her figure is much better than yours. If I really want to do something, it's to her. This sentence is a lie. He said it to comfort the girl. In fact, Gwen's is bigger and softer, but this girl's figure is more symmetrical and feels more elastic. Each has its own merits. Who knew that after hearing this, the girl did not calm down, but became even angrier. She attacked Zheng more fiercely. Zheng had no choice but to find the right gap, rush to the girl, and hug her tightly. The two were so close. If the girl attacked him again, she would definitely hit herself. Sure enough, the girl stopped her mental attack and kept struggling in Zheng arms. You, let me go. Zheng used his physical fitness that far exceeded that of ordinary people to hold the girl tightly. Hey, don't move anymore. Zheng said impatiently in the girl's ear. The girl heard the man's magnetic voice ringing in her ears. Hot air blew into her ears, and her nose was full of the man's breath. She felt that her waist had no strength and dared not move anymore. Zheng felt that the girl stopped struggling, and then he had time to ask her, "Why are you following me all the time?" The girl pushed Zheng chest slightly, asking Zheng to step back a little. "I just want to know what you did to the professor. I've never seen him in so much pain. So you followed me?" The girl looked embarrassed. "I don't know how to talk to you." Zheng looked down at the girl's bright red hair. Although what the girl said was reasonable, and her expression was also very appropriate. But Zheng intuition told him that the girl was not telling the truth. He had integrated several emperors. The first emperor, Gilgamesh, Solomon, and the king of conquerors. It can be said that the best thing every emperor is to see through people's hearts. This is not a skill. For them, it is as simple as breathing. So his intuition has become very sharp now. Unless he is a person with outstanding hiding skills, he can see through other people's lies immediately. Obviously, this girl's lying skills need to be improved. Just now, when the two were pulling, he noticed that the girl's hand had just touched the edge of his pocket several times. It was these few movements that made him realize something was wrong. Am I so easy to fool in her heart? Zheng smiled and touched his pocket, twisting a black round object the size of a rice grain with his fingertips. A micro bug. Maybe it also has a recording function. Zheng thought. Fortunately, I have been in hammer industry for a while and studied a lot of new machines. Otherwise, I might have been fooled. The girl's face suddenly turned pale. Want to play a beauty trick with me? You are quite confident. Zheng said while flicking the bug on his finger. The girl's face turned from pale to red. Jeanne Grey was upset because she saw that her beloved teacher was so seriously injured. So she left the team alone and wanted to complete the mission with S.H.I.E.L.D. on behalf of Professor X. She has always been confident in her appearance. When she first followed Zheng she was indeed thinking of using her appearance to get close to him. But the series of actions just now were really unexpected. Her shame and anger at that time were also real. Now that the other party said this, it seemed as if she had deliberately offered herself to others to take advantage of her. Jeanne Grey's eyes gradually became fiercer. By the way, let me remind you, don't use your mind-reading skills on me. Your teacher can escape from me, but it doesn't mean you can too. Zheng really reminded him out of kindness, but who knew that the other party's eyes became even more fierce. Jeanne Grey had never been insulted like this before. She glared at Zheng Bin fiercely. She knew that she couldn't beat Zheng Bin with her strength. So she just said a cruel word, "I won't let you go." After saying this, she ran away. Zheng Bin looked at the other party's graceful figure in the distance and felt really puzzled. She wouldn't think that she could do whatever she wanted just because she was beautiful. Wouldn't she let me go? What she should be worried about is whether I am willing to let your ex-academy go. However, in comparison, what annoyed him more was S.H.I.E.L.D. MD, is this really over? He originally thought that SHIELD sent people to monitor him, which would not have much impact on his life. So he just turned a blind eye. Who knew that SHIELD would go too far? They even sent out mutants to test him. Did they really think he was a fool who knew nothing? That very night, Zheng Bin pulled out a dozen agents who had been ambushing near his home and school and following him with his current ability. Even if he didn't equip the heroic spirit card, the low-level agents of SHIELD were no match for him. There were both men and women among these agents. All the men were stripped naked, and then the words, "I am a peeping Tom," were written on their bodies with a black marker. For the only girl, Zheng Bin was still very graceful. He didn't strip her clothes, but just tied her up with a group of men. Zheng Bin looked at the group of agents on the ground who were surrounded and had no power to fight back. They could only wriggle desperately. He sneered. SHIELD really valued him. They actually sent such a large group of people to monitor him. In this case, he would also give SHIELD a big gift. Zheng Bin summoned the system, equipped the Conqueror King Iskandar, and drove his god wheel to Washington to deliver a courier to S.H.I.E.L.D. The next day, Nick Fury returned to SHIELD headquarters. As soon as he opened the door of the office, he saw a huge amount of items outside his floor-to-ceiling glass from a distance. Because the distance was too far, he couldn't see what it was for a while, and immediately took out a pistol from his waist and pointed at the glass. After he found that the object seemed to have no intention of attacking him, he raised the gun and walked slowly over. When he got closer, he saw a pile of white flesh tied up and dangling outside his glass window. The people tied up were his SHIELD agents, weren't they? These agents hanging in the air looked really miserable. Many of them fainted because of their fear of heights. Those who didn't faint hated their strong bodies at the moment. Why did they faint even in such a situation? They were tied up and hung by Zheng Bin at the rear of the Shinwei wheel yesterday. The speed of the Shinwei wheel was very fast, and it flew high and low at times. Basically, every agent was shaken to vomit. The agents who are now awake not only have to endure the fear of heights, but also the sour smell from themselves and their colleagues. They really would rather faint and be done with it. Since all the agents of SHIELD were packed up and sent away, Zheng Bin felt that he was much quieter. His warning this time was so obvious. SHIELD dared not act rashly when they had not figured out their abilities. In the short term, that damn boiled egg should not send anyone again. At this time, Zheng Bin received a text message from Peter Parker. Since Zheng Bin used his account to buy stocks, he would send text messages every day to report the situation. "Brother, all your stocks have risen today. Although the increase has become smaller, it is still very stable." "Okay, got it." After Zheng Bin replied to his message, he turned on the computer. It seems that he has never checked the stock situation since he bought the stocks. Zheng Bin clicked on these stocks and looked at their curve charts. The day after he bought these stocks began to rise continuously. Until recently, the growth rate began to slow down, but it is still profitable now. Zheng Bin knew that this stock had passed the initial growth stage and was now in a stable state. In the future, their gains will become smaller and smaller, but this is normal. Even if the golden rate has the ability to revive, it can only slightly change the luck of these companies. Their internal operating model remains unchanged. No matter what, the golden rate can't turn a flounder into a big boss. Zheng Bin felt that there was no need to keep these stocks, so he called Peter Parker. "Peter, please help me sell all these stocks. I will use the money to buy other stocks." "Oh, why?" Peter Parker was very puzzled. These stocks are still rising, So why are you giving up like this? These stocks don't have much room for appreciation, and the growth is too slow. I don't want them anymore. Oh, okay. Peter Parker said to Zheng a little embarrassedly. I saw these stocks rising all the time, and I want to persuade Aunt May to invest in them. Zheng hurriedly stopped him. Don't. These stocks will definitely fall after I sell them. You will definitely lose money if you invest in them now. If you want to buy, follow me to buy the next batch of stocks. Oh, okay. By the way, he almost forgot that his brother's family has always been very tight financially. The only source of income for Peter Parker's family is his Aunt May, who earns money as a waitress in a restaurant. He calculated that after selling all his stocks this time, he should have about $300,000. Peter, since I made all this money because of the account you opened, I will give you $50,000 after selling the stocks this time. How can this be? It's too much money. I can't take it. Peter Parker quickly refused. During this period, you have been helping me keep an eye on the stock situation. This money is what you deserve. Or you can just treat this money as a principal I lent you to invest in stocks. Later, you can buy with me. If this $50,000 principal makes money, you keep it. If it loses, it's mine. Peter Parker was really moved. Brother, you're so good to me. This $50,000 is what I lent you. If I lose, I will definitely pay you back in the future. After saying that, he added a little embarrassedly, but you also know my situation. If you want to pay it back, you must wait until I start working before you can pay it back. No problem. Zheng agreed with the existence of the golden rate. He didn't think that the stocks he bought would lose money. Zheng was happy to make money, but the atmosphere on SHILD's side was solemn. Zheng, who was originally asleep, suddenly opened his eyes. Who appeared in his house? Someone who came in the middle of the night must be up to no good. Zheng got up, opened the bedroom door, and saw S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury sitting on the sofa in his living room. Zheng couldn't help rolling his eyes when he saw this person. It's you again, Mr. Zheng. Please forgive my presumptuous visit, but since I received the gift from Mr. Zheng, I must thank him in person to show my sincerity. Nick Fury's attitude this time was very sincere, even a little humble. Zheng remembered the first time he met this person, his arrogant face, and he didn't buy his tricks at all. You can tell me what's going on. We are deeply sorry for the trouble we have caused Mr. Zheng in his life, but I am here again to ask Mr. Zheng to accept the supervision of our shield. This way we can believe that you are not an enemy of the United States. What if I say no? Then it's my turn to talk to you. A girl in a flight jacket walked into Zheng house. Zheng was shocked. He didn't feel the girl's presence at all just now. This shows that her ability is far beyond his ordinary state. I just don't know what the power of the two will be if I equip myself with a heroic spirit. System, equip me with Solomon. Yes. Zheng could feel that the girl in front of him was very strong. She was the most powerful existence he had ever seen in this world. So he chose to equip Solomon. This was the strongest heroic spirit in his Kakuri so far. A flash of light appeared, and Zheng began to transform. This was the first time Nick Fury saw Zheng transform. He tried hard to open his eyes and wanted to see what was in the light. It's just that this light is too much for ordinary people's eyes to bear. Not long after, he had to close his eyes. Captain Marvel is the strongest existence on Earth, and his body is no longer that of an ordinary person. This bright light is a little uncomfortable for her, but she can still see the situation clearly. She saw that the sleepwear Zheng was wearing was turning into light spots from top to bottom, and was replaced by a set of cumbersome ancient costumes condensed on his body. When the light completely dissipated, Nick Fury and the others saw a Zheng who was dressed completely differently. At the moment, he was closing his eyes, and his temperament, coupled with the clothes on his body, gave people a feeling of nobility and unattainability. The next second, his eyes opened, and his dark eyes were neither sad nor happy. When his eyes are cast on you, it will make you feel that he is looking at you, but it seems that he is not looking at you. In his eyes, you are just a dead object. These eyes made both of them feel uncomfortable. Nick Fury had seen these eyes in the video before, but seeing it in person and seeing it through the screen are completely different. I don't know what happened to these eyes, but they made him feel insignificant. Even they made him feel the insignificance of human beings. Are you threatening me now? Although equipped with a heroic spirit card, Zheng still has his own consciousness. But the personality of the heroic spirit is too strong, which makes him unconsciously follow the other party's tone and way of speaking. Every time after the heroic spirit state is lifted, he will feel a little ashamed when he thinks of himself calling, "I and this king." But after equipping it again, he has no way to consider these situations. No, you misunderstood. We just mean to have a friendly conversation. Nick Fury felt the other party's strength and said in a friendly manner. Captain Marvel shrugged. Although the man in front of him was very powerful, she was not without the ability to fight him. But in this case, the price the Earth would have to pay was too high. If it can be resolved peacefully, it would be the best. Zheng looked down on Nick Fury's change of attitude from the bottom of his heart. When Captain Marvel walked in just now, it was obvious that his expression was expressing, "I have a backer. So I just ask if you are afraid." Why is he so scared now? Zheng heart was full of contempt for Nick Fury, but his expression did not change at all. Zheng, who integrated Solomon's personality, looked at the shabby sofa in his home with disgust. A throne condensed beside Zheng, and he sat on it. This luxurious throne seemed out of place in Zheng simple room. He raised his hand and pointed at the sofa in his home with his finger, motioning Captain Marvel to sit down. Zheng, sitting on the throne, looked more majestic. Captain Marvel raised his eyebrows and sat down. "Would you like something to drink?" A bad guest is also a guest. When treating guests, King Solomon never loses his royal demeanor. Nick Fury was a little flattered after hearing this. "Just water. I don't need it." Zheng nodded. Unlike Gilgamesh, Solomon was recorded in history as a wise king in the parallel world. So after becoming a heroic spirit, he didn't have his own treasure house, and he couldn't pour a glass of water from XX Lake blessed by fairies like Gilgamesh did. He could only serve the tap water in his own home. Zheng summoned a Mephisto. This Mephisto was relatively small among the 72 Mephistos, but it was still very huge in Zheng small room, almost reaching the ceiling. Mephisto and Zheng had a tacit understanding, walked to the kitchen, carefully found a glass with huge amounts of hand, took some drinking water from the tap, and brought it out in front of Nick Fury. The moment Mephisto appeared, Nick Fury's whole body was tense and alert, and when he saw the glass of water in front of him, he was stunned. "Ah, thank you." Mephisto nodded humanely, then turned into a spirit particle and dissipated. Captain Marvel was very calm, just raised his eyelids and looked at Mephisto. "What do you want to talk to me about?" Nick Fury asked, "Are you Zheng or King Solomon now?" "Both." Captain Marvel interrupted. "You have great strength, but you are unwilling to show your position. People like you are like a time bomb for the Earth. I can't let you stay on the Earth. Where I am is not your turn to decide." Zheng was glad that he was equipped with Solomon now. If he was equipped with Gilgamesh, he might have lost control of his violent emotions after hearing these words and would have taken action directly. If that were the case, the apartment he lived in would definitely be in trouble. Captain Marvel smiled slightly. "You can see if I can make this decision." Zheng turned to look at Nick Fury. "You have the same idea, right?" Nick Fury, who was stared by Zheng, felt his scalp tingling. "We must first confirm that you are harmless before we can give up control of you." "I understand." It seems that these two people are determined to find trouble today, considering that the apartment he lives in will definitely not be able to withstand his powerful attack. Zheng flew out of the window first. "Arrogant human, let me see your ability." Captain Marvel followed Zheng and flew out. Nick Fury quickly took out his mobile phone and called, "Hurry up and use the satellite to check the location of these two people." King Solomon's agility is only B-level. If they compete in speed, Captain Marvel will definitely catch up. He transformed into the king of conquerors in the air. "Since you want to fight so much, why not fight on your territory?" Zheng drove the Shinwei wheel and flew toward the city of Washington, the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D., without hesitation. Captain Marvel and Zheng flew quickly, forming two beams of light in the sky. Captain Marvel noticed the other party's intention and wanted to catch up and stop the other party. However, the speed of the Shinwei wheel at full speed was too fast, so she could only follow closely behind. It only took 10 seconds from Nick Fury's call to the two of them arriving above the SHILD building. As soon as Phil Coulson located the traces of the two, he found that they had run to the door of their house, and quickly called Nick Fury to report. Nick Fury said on the phone, "Immediately evacuate everyone in the building, as far as you can." Although the people in the building have been notified to evacuate, think about the combat power of the two people is more powerful than nuclear weapons. He can only pray in his heart, destroy the SHILD building, but don't destroy the city of Washington. The ability and noble phantasm of the Conqueror King are not suitable for Captain Marvel. Zheng Bin said to the system, "Equip Gilgameshka." Yes. After Zheng Bin equipped Gilgameshka, the anger in his heart was infinitely magnified. Looking at the woman standing in front of him, he showed a dangerous smile. "You be asterisk, 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 asterisk D. You angered me." This is the third heroic spirit that Zheng Bin has exchanged in front of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel smiled and said, "Wow, I didn't expect you to have so many tricks." There was contempt in his tone. "You be asterisk, 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 asterisk. Do you dare to talk to me like this?" Dozens of golden noble phantasms shot out from behind Zheng Bin without warning, but Captain Marvel was faster and dodged them all. Not good. Although she dodged the attack of the weapons, they continued to fly towards the SHILD headquarters behind her. Realizing this, she rushed over and knocked down the treasures. But there were many treasures, and they were very fast. Even if she tried her best, she could only stop some of them. The remaining treasures fell on the SHILD building without mercy. There were huge amounts of noises. In the rolling dust, SHILD collapsed like this. Damn it! Captain Marvel turned around and looked at Zheng Bin with bloodshot eyes. Because of her friendship with Nick Fury, she has a special feeling for S.H.I.E.L.D. Seeing the appearance of the SHILD building completely ignited her anger. A golden light suddenly burst out from her body and rushed towards Zheng Bin. Countless circles of ripples appeared behind Zheng Bin, and thousands of treasures shot towards Captain Marvel from the ripples. Captain Marvel, who was emitting light, now had a much stronger ability than before. She quickly dodged the treasures that flew over, because the treasures were too dense, and some of them were too late to dodge, so she knocked them down with her bare hands. It must be said that Captain Marvel is the most powerful opponent Zheng Bin has ever encountered. This feeling made him, who was equipped with Gilgameshka, feel belligerent and excited from the bottom of his heart. Ha ha ha! It's really interesting. I didn't expect that female cockroaches would have such an ability. Zheng Bin's black eyes flashed with red light, revealing a bloodthirsty smile. This is worth letting me do it myself. Sword of Separation. Zheng Bin's hand gradually condensed a golden and red sword, with complex and gorgeous patterns on the sword, and the sword body was faintly shining, which made people know at a glance that this sword was definitely not an ordinary product. This is definitely not a sword that humans can make. Captain Marvel's body was wrapped in red and blue light, and his eyes were full of golden light. Zheng Bin had only seen such a powerful force in the memory of some heroes. This is the power of God. When he thought of the word God, Zheng Bin, who was equipped with Gilgamesh, immediately became very unhappy. At the moment when he was distracted, Captain Marvel had broken through the encirclement of the treasure and was only a few meters away from him. Captain Marvel did not use any weapons and punched Zheng Bin's face with his bare hands. Zheng Bin dodged sideways and swung at Captain Marvel with the Sword of Separation. Captain Marvel quickly retreated, then rushed forward at a faster speed and continued to punch Zheng Bin's face. How much hatred do you have for my face? Hit the face every time. Zheng Bin used offense as defense and chopped Captain Marvel's arm fiercely. Captain Marvel had to withdraw his original offensive and dodge this one. The two were very fast. Although only 1 minute had passed, they had actually fought countless rounds in the air. All the agents of SHILD had successfully taken refuge and were now hiding in huge amounts of invisible aircraft. Phil Coulson took a long-distance high-definition camera developed by SHILD and recorded the two people who were fighting hard above S.H.I.E.L.D. The video was directly transmitted to a huge amount of TV screen, and everyone crowded in front of the screen and watched carefully, although they could not see anything. The two were so fast that they could only see a huge ball of light composed of 3 colors of red, blue, and yellow. Their speed was so fast that ordinary people could not even see the afterimage, but only the afterglow of their light. Until now, this king has to admit that you are qualified to fight with this king. Because Zheng has always drawn 5-star cards and has sufficient magic power, he still has a great advantage even when fighting with heroes of the same level. The woman in front of him was more powerful than any of the heroes he had fought before, and she was just an ordinary human on Earth. Even a proud king like Gilgamesh admired her. In that case, I will give you the highest respect. After saying this, Zheng decided to release the sword in his hand. My sword of separation that tears the world apart, the vortex that makes the stars rotate, the hell in the sky is the end of the previous life of creation, and death will only calm it down, the star of the separation and opening of heaven and earth. Zheng read out the real name of the sword of separation and released the treasure. Captain Marvel felt a strong force coming over, and her perception ability made her realize that something was wrong. So she hurriedly left the battlefield and flew to a higher place. Zheng took the sword of separation that had been released and swung it hard at Captain Marvel, who was flying up. The sword of separation released a huge amount of light, illuminating the sky above the entire Washington. In an instant, the whole city was as bright as day. Captain Marvel felt an amazing force coming at her, and she wanted to fly forward to avoid the light, but the range of the light was too large and the speed was too fast. Captain Marvel, who was about to fly out of the atmosphere, was hit and fell from the sky. He smashed hard on the ruins of the SHILD headquarters, which had turned into a huge pit. Zheng slowly landed not far from Captain Marvel. He walked gracefully to Captain Marvel with his sword of separation. Captain Marvel had fainted, and her red and blue tights had become tattered. Her right calf was smoothly cut off, and blue blood gushed out like a fountain. Such an enemy deserves the best treatment. The narcissistic King Gilgamesh believed that her best destination was to die in his own hands. "Wait, host!" The system shouted in horror. "This is a character in the world plot. You must not kill her." Gilgamesh's personality made him want to stab the sword, but Zheng reason was preventing this from happening. For a moment, his movements froze. "Wait! Please don't kill her." Iron Man held Nick Fury and landed at the bottom of the pit. The director of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the one who spoke. "Mr. Zheng, please don't kill her." After Iron Man landed on the ground, Nick Fury quickly got off him and ran to their side. The only remaining, I showed a pleading look. Nick Fury's shout just saved Zheng from this dilemma. His reason finally won over Gilgamesh's personality. He quickly asked the system to unbind, fearing that he would wait for the next person to be unable to help and kill all the characters present. "Mr. Zheng, let's talk." Nick Fury really regretted it. The SHILD building was completely destroyed, and his good friend, the most powerful trump card in his eyes. He was lying on the ground at this moment, his life or death unknown. When he was in the police station, he heard Zheng say, "Not destroying the world is the greatest kindness of the world." And he thought that the young man suddenly got power and was overwhelmed, so he said such words. Now he knows that what the other party said is true. He really has the ability to destroy the world. In order to return to Washington as soon as possible, he asked Iron Man to send him back. Fortunately, Iron Man's battle suit detected the fluctuation of power and stopped at the distance of the light. Otherwise, they should have been torn apart by this light now. What should be more fortunate is that his light was emitted to the sky. If it was emitted to the ground, the consequences would be unimaginable. Maybe Washington has been razed to the ground. Zheng, who had returned to his normal state, sneered. "Talk? The first time you wanted to talk to me, you handcuffed me in the police station. The second time you wanted to talk to me, you brought people to my house in the middle of the night and threatened to kick me out of the earth. I wonder what director Nick Fury is going to do this time." Nick Fury apologized sincerely. "I apologize for my stupidity. I now believe that you have no ill will towards this world. From now on, SHILD will never disturb or interfere with your life." This time, Nick Fury's humility was more real than before. Although he thought Zheng Bin was not easy to mess with before, he thought that he still had Captain Marvel. So he was polite with some arrogance. Now, after seeing this power that can destroy the world, his humility is expressed from the bottom of his heart. He knew that he must not offend such a terrible person for the earth. My friend lost her leg, and the SHILD building has become a ruin. I hope this can make you feel better. If not, you can kill me to relieve your anger. Whether Nick Fury dies or not is not important to Zheng Bin at all. But since the system wants to keep the names of these plot characters, these people will definitely be useful in the future. Well, I see that the magical blood of this poor girl is about to run out. I will take her to treatment first. Iron Man spoke, breaking the serious atmosphere on the scene. He looked at Zheng Bin, and seeing that he had no intention of objecting, he flew away with Marvel Woman. Zheng Bin felt that there was no point in staying any longer, and said to Nick Fury, "Remember what you said, otherwise I will make you pay a greater price next time." What does the greater price refer to? Is it the United States or the Earth? Nick Fury's suspicion was revived, but he did not dare to ask more. After watching a burst of light appear, Zheng Bin's clothes changed again, and he jumped out of the pit and left. Zheng Bin equipped Siegfried. There is no legend about Siegfried's mount in history, and he is a saber, so he is not good at magic. In fact, it is not suitable for traveling. But Zheng Bin's other 3 male heroic spirit cards are now in a cooling state, so he had to equip the only remaining male card. After equipping, he ran back to New York from Washington on his legs. Siegfried's agility level is B, so it didn't take too long to run back. It took about half an hour to get home. When I got home, it was already dawn. Zheng Bin went back to bed and fell asleep, but who knew that he hadn't slept for a few hours? He was woken up by another phone call. "Bin, the stocks you took me to buy have made money. They have risen a lot." Peter Parker's excited voice sounded on the phone. "Okay, I got it." Zheng Bin was ready to hang up the phone. "Wait a minute. This time the increase is even more exaggerated than the last time you bought it." "Okay." Zheng Bin hung up the phone directly. He felt that Peter Parker was making a fuss. He had carefully studied the stocks, and with the golden rule, it would be a miracle if he didn't make money. I told you a long time ago, don't provoke him. He is a good person. Why don't you believe it? Captain Marvel was sent to the best hospital in New York by Tony Stark for treatment. A day has passed, and she still has no signs of waking up. Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Stark, and Nick Fury all came to this ward. Tony Stark, who was getting more and more angry, finally couldn't help but curse at everyone in the room. "Tony, we don't want this to happen." Black Widow came out to persuade. "You don't wanna? He was living well in New York before, but you guys disturb him again and again. He finally got mad, and now you tell me you don't want to. I don't know why you can't tolerate him. He never killed innocent people. He killed terrorists. I ask you, who among you has never had blood on your hands? You killed people without blinking, and now you want others to be your father?" Tony Stark became more and more excited. "You asked me to be a consultant for SHIELD? Why didn't you ask for my opinion before you act? Doesn't this show how dangerous he is?" Captain America pointed at Captain Marvel lying on the bed. "His power is too terrible, and he has been abusing his power." "What do you mean by abuse?" "He saved so many people." What Tony Stark hates most is Captain America. To put it nicely, he is upright, but to put it bluntly, he is pedantic. It was this woman and Nick Fury who broke into someone's home in the middle of the night and threatened to drive them out of the earth. In the United States, if someone breaks into your home, it is not illegal even if you kill them. Enough. Nick Fury, who had been sitting next to Captain Marvel's bed, shouted, "Stop arguing." "What do you mean, stop arguing?" Tony Stark pointed at Nick Fury's nose and continued to scold. "I haven't said anything about you yet. Arrogant and controlling. Seeing that Zheng Bin is powerful, you want to get his power and let him work like a cow for you shield. It's fine if you have such thoughts about others, but you are such a deadly person. If Zheng Bin wants to deal with the earth, you are the biggest sinner." Nick Fury lowered his head and stopped talking. Every word Stark said hit the point, which made him a little embarrassed. Hawkeye, who missed a lot of things because of his trip home, couldn't get a word in. So he could only come out to persuade, "Do you have to argue in the patient's room?" At this time, Captain Marvel on the bed made a slight groan. Nick Fury said quickly, "She's about to wake up. Go get a doctor." After the doctor checked Captain Marvel's body, he exclaimed, "She had such serious internal injuries when she was sent in yesterday, but now she's almost healed. Her self-healing system is too powerful. Is it related to her blue blood?" After the doctor finished speaking, he wanted to lift the quilt to see her broken leg and study it carefully, but was pushed away by Tony Stark. "Okay, it's good that you're fine. You can go out." After the reluctant doctor walked out of the ward, Nick Fury spoke. "Sorry, we didn't find your leg. And I misjudged at this time." Tony Stark said on the side, "I'll provide you a mechanical leg for free. It must be cool and better than your own." After waking up, Captain Marvel, who was sitting on the head of the bed without saying a word, said softly, "Can I go out first? I want to be alone." When everyone left and only Marvel Woman was left in the room, she finally couldn't help but shed tears. Her leg, in addition to the injuries on her body, her spirit was even more damaged. She had traveled through the universe before and fought with countless powerful people. She had never lost. This also led to her confidence in her own strength. Until this time, her self-esteem was completely shattered by Zheng. She was too arrogant and didn't know that there are always people better than you. This time, she lost more than just a leg. She also lost her heart that was brave and never afraid. After everyone walked out of the ward, they looked at each other and no one knew what to say. Tony Stark rolled his eyes and left first. He didn't want to stay with these idiots, fearing that it would lower his IQ. Nick Fury's phone rang in his pocket, and he took it out and pressed the answer button. "Hello." "Director General Ross, the Minister of National Martial Arts, wants to know what happened in Washington the day before yesterday." "I'll go back right away." A group of people in formal suits sat in a spacious and bright conference room, and General Ross, the Minister of National Martial Arts, sat at the main seat of the conference table. He nodded to Nick Fury, who walked into the conference room, and said, "Sit down." After Nick Fury sat down, he asked, "What happened the day before yesterday? Why did the SHIELD headquarters building become a ruin?" "It was my mistake. Because of my misjudgment, I angered someone I couldn't afford to offend." "Who?" General Ross said seriously, "Everyone in Washington heard the loud noise coming from the SHIELD building that day. Now everyone knows that the SHIELD headquarters has been reduced to ruins. If we don't handle this matter well, it will seriously affect people's trust in the U.S. government." Nick Fury said, "This person is harmless to the earth. It was my improper behavior that triggered this war. I am willing to accept any punishment. He demolished our building, and you still say it's harmless?" General Ross slapped the table hard. "Is he very strong?" "Very strong. Can't USHIELD solve it?" "No. What if the U.S. military is involved?" Nick Fury took out a USB drive and threw it in the middle of the conference table. "You can watch it for yourself." After inserting the USB drive to play, the screen played a picture of a man in golden armor and a woman in red and blue tights fighting in the sky. Both of them were glowing, and the fighting speed was very fast. "He looks very strong, but he can't be so powerful that the entire SHIELD can't do anything to him, right? This picture is a result of us slowing down 5,000 times." Nick Fury said, "If it were in reality, with our naked eyes, we couldn't catch any traces of their actions at all." The conference room was silent, with only the sound of TV playing. My advice to this person is to never provoke him. Once he gets angry, no one on earth will be his opponent. Zheng saw that the increase in the 5 stocks in his hand was also beginning to slow down, so he asked Peter Parker to sell them all. This time, Zheng made nearly 10 times the profit, and his current funds are nearly $3 million. Peter Parker also made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Brother, so much money. Peter Parker was so excited that he was a little incoherent. He stared at his bank book closely. It was the first time he had seen so much money since he was a child. Zheng also smiled at his good friend's appearance. "I still want to continue to invest in stocks. Do you want to join me?" "Yes." Definitely. Peter Parker nodded vigorously. He was determined to hold on to this golden thigh of his friend. The system suddenly issued a reminder in Zheng Bin's mind. Host! I sensed the breath of the heroic spirit. Where is it? Zheng Bin, who had not updated the heroic spirit library for a long time, was a little excited and asked hurriedly, In Mexico? Okay. After saying goodbye to Peter Parker, he quickly equipped the heroic spirit card of the Conqueror King. He rushed towards the direction of Mexico and stopped outside a hospital. According to the system's prompt, he walked into a ward. There was only one bed in the ward, and a blond man with a stubble on his face was lying on the bed. He looked very strong, and his height should be about the same as Zheng Bin, who was already 190 centimeters tall. At the moment, he had his eyes closed tightly, and his whole body was tied tightly to the bed with several thick leather belts. Zheng Bin, who was used to seeing the majestic appearance of the heroic spirit, was confused. No way, system, this is a heroic spirit. It seems to be. The system rarely made an uncertain sound. Whether it is or not, let him get up first. Zheng Bin, equipped with the Conqueror King, also integrated his boldness and informality. He raised his palm and slapped the man on the bed one after another. Pa, pa, pa. The sound of crisp slaps rang out in the quiet ward. The man's face quickly became red and swollen, and he groaned in pain. He opened his eyes not long after. As soon as Thor opened his eyes, he saw a man standing at the head of his bed and slapping his face. He quickly scolded, How dare you? Who are you? How dare you disrespect me? Zheng Bin stopped what he was doing. Oh, you finally woke up. Who are you? I am Thor, the son of the king of God, Odin. How dare you attack me? System, what's going on? This person is Thor, a plot character. It's the host. I don't know what's going on, but he must have come into contact with the heroic spirit. So he has the breath of the heroic spirit, and he has a strong divinity. So it confuses me. Then did you detect any heroic spirits nearby? Sorry, host, no. It is very likely that this breath was contaminated when Thor was still in Asgard. Asgard is too far away from the earth, so the system has not sensed it for the time being. Hey, if you help me untie the ropes on my body, then I will forgive you. Since Thor is now the only clue to finding the heroic spirit, then I will definitely find something by following him. Zheng Bin thought so, and helped Thor tear off all the belts on his body. Come with me. Thor is indeed a famous big fool in the Marvel Universe. He was still angrily blaming Zheng Bin for hitting him in the face in the ward just now, but now he and Zheng Bin walked out of the hospital arm in arm. Thor felt that he got along well with Zheng Bin, who was equipped with the King of Conquerors, and soon began to call Zheng Bin my friend. My friend, what's your name? Zheng Bin. You should also be a god, right? As a pure god, Thor can feel the divinity in Zheng Bin, and this divinity actually gave him a very familiar feeling. Are you also from Asgard? The aura on you is very similar to mine. Zheng Bin thought that Thor was referring to Siegfried, the heroic spirit he had equipped and integrated with the other's divinity. Siegfried and Thor came from the same pantheon, both Norse mythology. Therefore, it was normal for him to feel that the divinity was similar. Zheng Bin replied, I'm from Earth. Have the people on this planet become so strong now? Thor laughed. When I fell from Asgard, my Mjolnir also fell with me. My friend, come with me to find it. After you find it, I'll invite you to visit our Asgard. This is what Zheng Bin wanted. In order to find the heroic spirit, he should go to Asgard. Zheng Bin asked in his mind, System, can you find Thor's hammer? Yes. The system transmitted the location to Zheng Bin's brain. Zheng Bin said to Thor, I know what a hammer is. After saying that, he released the treasure, the godly wheel. Zheng Bin asked Thor to sit on it. After Thor sat down, he looked at the ox cart under him with great interest. He grew up in the palace and had seen many treasures, but he was also amazed by this exquisite ox cart, especially the 2 cows in front. They had already reached divinity. He touched the wheel beside the carriage, which was made of material he had never seen before. My friend, your car is really a good thing. Zheng Bin said, Hold on tight. The Shunwei will rush forward. and in less than 10 seconds, it stopped next to the big pit smashed by Mjolnir. Thor sat in the car with a look of shock on his face. When he came to his senses, he laughed loudly. "Oh my God, it's so refreshing. I have never seen such a fast bullock cart. Where'd you find this car? I want to get one too." Zheng thought to himself, he is worthy of being the Prince of Asgard. This tone sounds like a rich second generation who wants to buy a sports car, very rich. "You can't get it, this is my trophy." Zheng got off the Shinwei wheel and took back the treasure. At the moment, this big pit was already surrounded by people, all of whom were local residents. These people drank and had fun next to the pit, and many people went down and tried to lift Mjolnir. It looked very lively. Thor walked toward the hammer and said, "You mortals can't lift this hammer." He put his hand on the handle of the hammer. "Only people like me who are recognized by it can lift it." "Huh?" Thor exerted force on his hand, but found that the hammer was still motionless. The confident smile on his face disappeared, revealing an expression of disbelief. How is it possible? He put both hands on the handle and used all his strength, but still couldn't lift it. He was hit hard. How could this happen? Zheng walked to Thor's side. "Let me try." "My friend, this is—" Thor opened his mouth to stop him, but before he finished speaking, he saw Zheng easily lifted the hammer. Zheng tilted his head and looked at Thor in confusion. "What did you say?" Thor stared in amazement at his new friend lifting up his Mjolnir. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Zheng suddenly remembered that in the Thor movie, Odinson seemed to have said that anyone who could lift Mjolnir could try the power of Thor. With a research attitude, he lifted Mjolnir high and silently said in his heart, "Thunder for me." Suddenly, a lightning bolt fell from the sky and hit Mjolnir. The lightning bolt kept hitting until Zheng said stop in his heart and disappeared. Zheng looked at Thor, who was standing next to him and doubting his life, and smiled and said, "Your hammer is quite interesting." Thor's mind was full of F***K. What's going on? Why can he use the power of Thor? Can he become Thor by lifting Mjolnir? What about me? What should I do? Thor's mind was spinning rapidly. Too many words piled up together made him unable to speak, so he could only anxiously say you, me. Zheng found it funny to see him like this, and he probably knew what Thor was thinking. To be honest, he had no interest in Mjolnir at all. If he were an ordinary person, he might still covet this divine power. But for him, this so-called artifact was not even ranked in Gilgamesh's treasure house. Before Thor could finish his words, a brilliant rainbow light hit Zheng, and Thor standing next to him was also included. When the two of them were small, a complex circular pattern appeared on the ground. After a while of spinning, Zheng found that he and Thor were already standing in a golden room. In the middle of the room stood a giant black man. He was wearing golden armor, and his eyes were also golden. When his eyes fell on Zheng, it seemed as if he could see through Zheng soul. As soon as Thor came to this room, he immediately laughed excitedly. "Ha ha ha! Heimdall, did my father forgive me? Let me come back." Heimdall broke Thor's hope expressionlessly. "The king just asked me to keep an eye on Mjolnir. If I find someone who can use Mjolnir's ability, I will bring him to Asgard." Thor was like a deflated ball, and he was quiet in an instant. Heimdall said to Zheng, "Hello, the most powerful warrior. Please follow me." Zheng nodded and followed Heimdall, and Thor followed him dejectedly. Zheng followed Heimdall on a colorful bridge that would pass through the entire Asgard and lead directly to the palace. The scenery in Asgard was incredibly beautiful, all of which were golden buildings with exquisite structures. It was obviously the work of God. In addition to the buildings, the colors of the trees, flowers, and sky were all things Zheng had never seen before. Thor couldn't help showing off to Zheng. "Do you think Asgard is beautiful? It is definitely the most beautiful existence in the universe. It is many times better than your gray earth." Hearing Thor's words, Zheng nodded indifferently. He had seen more beautiful scenery in the memories of the heroes. And as a man with Gilgameshka, hearing Thor's boasting was like the richest man in the world listening to a nouveau riche bragging about how rich he was. Zheng reaction made Heimdall look at him a few more times. With the ability to perceive everything, He could feel that this human with the aura of a brave man was not pretending to be reserved about the scenery of Asgard. He really didn't care at all. Even travelers from higher planets would be amazed when they saw the scenery of Asgard. Humans from this lower planet could be so calm. The palace was the most conspicuous existence in Asgard. The towering golden pillars built a magnificent palace. In addition to being gorgeous, the interior also had a solemn look. On the throne in the middle of the palace sat an old man with white hair. He had a golden eye patch on his right eye and wore a suit of armor. He sat on the throne with great dignity. Heimdall and Zheng walked to the middle of the palace hall and knelt on one knee to greet him. Zheng just stood there calmly, looking up at the other person. How dare you not salute the king? The soldiers standing on both sides of the hall scolded Zheng. Odin glanced at the young man in front of him, waved to his guards, and asked them to retreat. You have the breath of the greatest warrior. Odin was referring to the divinity of Siegfried. In the Song of the Nibelungs, Siegfried was described as the most powerful warrior in Norse mythology. Odin felt the power of the other party, and in addition, he also felt other divinities that were not in the same system as them. But he saw at a glance that the man in front of him had human blood flowing in his body. He was very curious why he had so many powerful divinities from different systems gathered in his body. Human, come forward. Zheng stood still. Although he is now equipped with the Conqueror King, who is more casual among the emperors, but no matter how casual he is still a king in his essence. Especially the Conqueror King conquered so many territories in the past, and was called a tyrant. His essence is a king who has his way. I am Alexander the Great of Macedonia, the king of Asgard. Why don't you come to see me? How dare you? All the soldiers raised their spears and pointed them at Zheng. How dare you be so rude to the king? Thor, who was kneeling on the side, looked up at his new friend and whispered, Are you crazy? How can you talk to my father like this? Apologize to him before he gets angry. Then he turned around and pleaded with Odin. Father, my human friend doesn't understand the rules here. Don't be offended by him. Shut up. You are a guilty person, and you are not qualified to talk to me. After Odin scolded his eldest son, he stared at Zheng expressionlessly, releasing pressure. What gives you so much confidence to fight against me? Is it because of the divinity in you? Or is it that the weapon in your hand brings you inexplicable confidence? Odin looked at Mjolnir in Zheng hand and prepared to summon it back. Zheng felt the Mjolnir stirring and tightened his grip. He didn't care about this weapon, which might only be B+ level, but that didn't mean that anyone could take it away from him. Zheng laughed. I heard you once said that whoever could pick up Mjolnir could get it. I didn't expect that the king of Asgard was a person who liked to take back the gifts he gave away. But I'm not a king who would give things to others. After saying that, he held the head of Mjolnir with his other hand, and with force, the hammer head cracked. This hammer, which is said to be made of Asgard's unique metal Yoryu, was shattered to the ground. Looking at the wreckage on the ground, the palace fell into silence. Everyone knew the power of Mjolnir, and they were shocked to see that it was easily crushed by a mortal. Odin remained calm on the surface, but there were already storms in his heart. He could also do things like crushing Mjolnir in his heyday. Could it be that the power of this mortal is almost the same as is in his prime? Odin looked at Zheng carefully again. He was not mistaken. He was clearly immortal. Mjolnir was broken, and the palace fell into embarrassment. Others saw Zheng strength and dared not speak. And Odin didn't know what attitude he should use to treat this young man. The king's reserve also made it impossible for him to bow his head. At the moment, a gentle female voice sounded, and a middle-aged woman in gorgeous clothes walked into the palace. Thor, you are back. The woman first came forward with surprise and hugged Thor tightly. Mother, after hugging her son, Frigga turned to look at Zheng. I apologize to you on behalf of my husband. Since you have come to Asgard, why don't you stay here for a few more days and let my two sons, Thor and Loki, take you on a good tour? Queen of Asgard, you know how to entertain guests better than your husband. The mocked Odin was embarrassed on the throne. No one had ever dared to speak to him like this. But when he thought of his old body, he sighed deeply in his heart. Asgard had no ability to fight back against such a powerful opponent, unless he thought of his daughter who was imprisoned in the depths of the universe, and he was depressed again. In order to make up for the mistakes made by her husband, Frigga arranged Zheng in the best guest room. From the window of the guest room, you can see the beautiful scenery of Asgard. The room has been carefully decorated. In addition to various luxurious decorations, there are also fine wines and the freshest fruits. You can tell at a glance that it is thoughtful. Zheng thanked Frigga. "Thank you for your arrangement, Queen of Asgard. I am very satisfied with this place." "You're welcome, Alexander the Great, King of the human world." After waiting for Frigga to leave the room, Zheng summoned the system. "How is it? Did you find anything in Asgard?" Reply to the host, "No." Zheng watched Marvel movies in his previous life. After more than 10 years, he could not remember many details in the movie and could only remember the general direction. He could no longer remember where Thor went before he was exiled to Earth. Just as he was reminiscing, Thor came with his brother Loki. "My friend, let us two brothers take you around Asgard in the next few days," Thor said to Zheng with his unique generosity. In contrast, Loki's attitude seemed much more respectful. "Respected king of the human realm, I have long heard of your great name." He had already heard from others that Zheng had crushed Mjolnir. Such strength forced him to put away his contempt for mortals and be more considerate on the surface. Equipped with the Conqueror King, Zheng personality became more cheerful. He and Thor walked out of the palace arm in arm, laughing and joking. Loki followed behind them and looked at their backs, with deep jealousy in his eyes. "Why does powerful power always favor these fools?" Zheng said to Thor. "I just crushed your Mjolnir. As compensation, I will return a better weapon to you." Perhaps because he has always been a deep-minded person, he is always more tolerant of simple people like Peter Parker and Thor. "Ha ha! I was right about you, my friend." Thor gave Zheng a hug. Loki looked up after hearing this and gave Thor a gloomy look. Thor felt that he had met a like-minded friend and must introduce him to his best friends. He took Zheng to find his friends in Asgard. "Friends, this is the king of the human world, the Conqueror." "Oh, you're the human Thor brought back." Thor's friends all showed an interested expression. "In the past, the kings of the human world would salute us gods. Why don't you salute?" "Yes, they would also pray to us and ask for all kinds of things." "That's right, and humans are so weak. Don't get too close to us. I'm afraid I'll accidentally crush you to death." Odin blocked the fact that Mjolnir was lifted by a mortal for the sake of his son's status. Definitely, Mjolnir was crushed, which made him lose face, and it was even more impossible for others to know. Therefore, except for a few people, no one in Asgard knew the strength of the Conqueror. Thor's friends naturally didn't know, and they made bad jokes to Zheng with disdain in their tone. Loki smiled and then disappeared quickly. These idiots. Even Thor, who was a thick-skinned man, could tell that the jokes made by his friends were inappropriate, and frowned to refute. "Oh, really? The kings of the world all salute you? How do they usually salute?" Zheng grabbed the long hair of the tallest man closest to him and smashed his head on the ground. The man's had smashed a hole in the ground, and his face was deeply buried in it. His original hearty smile became dangerous. "Is it this kind of salute?" The man buried his head in the ground and knelt on his knees. "This salute is not respectful enough. It should be a prostration." After Zheng finished speaking, he stepped on the man's back and pressed his back down. Everyone present heard the sound of the spine breaking. "Ah!" The man whose spine was broken screamed in pain and passed out. After hearing this sound, the others realized what happened. The rest of Thor's friends roared, "You damn mortal! How dare you!" Several people rushed up together. Thor, who was standing aside, saw the fight and was very anxious. He wanted to stop it, but Loki grabbed his hand and stopped him. "Brother, your strength has not recovered yet. If you go up, you will die. Don't move." Loki had been displeased with those people for a long time. He liked to laugh at his magic since he was a child. It was a good opportunity for someone to teach them a lesson. He didn't want Thor to go up and affect him from watching the show. Thor struggled hard. No, they're all my friends. Zheng looked at the people who rushed up and smiled. What's wrong? Do you also want to come to me to learn how to salute? Zheng knocked one down with a punch, kicked his head hard to the ground, and his head made a hole on the ground. Like the previous person, he broke his spine with one foot. I am happy to teach you. Come one by one, don't rush. Another one fell down. Look, you have learned so well. The last one also fell down. In the 10 seconds that Thor struggled, his 4 best friends had all fallen down. Their faces were buried deep in the ground, and their bodies were in a twisted posture. Thor saw his friend lying there, not knowing whether he was dead or alive, and cried out in grief, Ah, Zheng! Zheng heard this roar, turned his head, and asked with a smile, What's wrong? They were just joking. Did you hurt them like this? Zheng restrained the smile on his face. Have they ever played such a joke on your father? Thor was stunned. He wanted to say, You are not the father. But thinking of the strength that Zheng showed in the hall just now, he knew that the other party was likely to be at the same level as Odin. He couldn't say this. Since they dared to say such words to me, they are naturally ready to bear the wrath of a king. Thor was speechless. It was indeed his best friend who did something wrong just now. If Zheng was incompetent and was bullied by them, Asgard would at most give them a verbal warning. But Zheng possessed great power, and they were at fault first. Even if all his best friends died, I am afraid Odin would not seek justice for them and Zheng, because Odin had already recognized Zheng's status as a king in his heart. He also believed that the dignity of the king should not be violated. Thor could only walk over silently and pull his best friends out of the pit one by one. Loki walked forward, his attitude becoming more respectful. King of the human world, please don't let these people affect your mood for fun. Since my brother is not free now, let me take you to visit Asgard. Loki laughed at Thor in his heart. For those idiots, he actually gave up such an ally. It was really hopeless. Okay, let's go. Zheng saw Thor squatting there to take care of his friends, and he also felt very bored. He followed Loki and left. Although Loki is a bit treacherous, he is still sensible, and he is very good at flattering without making a sound. Zheng was very happy with the flattery. He thought, if every flatterer had Loki's flattering skills, it would be no wonder that there were so many incompetent emperors in history. He took Zheng to the door of a hall and explained to Zheng, This place is where my father stored the spoils he got from the giants of Jotunheim. And my brother was exiled to Earth by my father because he destroyed the peace agreement between us and the giants of Jotunheim and went to Jotunheim to cause trouble. Zheng got the information he wanted, Jotunheim. It seems that the heroic spirit is very likely in Jotunheim. He felt that Loki should regard him as the same type of person as Thor. Strong limbs, simple mind. Normal people as tour guides would never lead others to the door of their own treasure house. It seems that they are afraid that others will not come to steal things. However, he still took advantage of the situation and looked at the door of the hall a few more times. After all, if he wanted to go to Jotunheim, he still needed to use Loki. Loki noticed that Zheng kept looking at the door of the treasury and showed an interested look, and he was happy. Sure enough, he fell into the trap. After receiving the notice from a maid, Frigga rushed to Thor's position. When she arrived at the scene, she saw her son sitting dejectedly on one side, and the 4 close friends who had grown up with him were lying side by side in a row. Thor, what's going on? Mother, please save them. Thor asked his mother with a sad face. Because the matter was urgent, Frigga didn't have time to ask what happened. She walked to their side and used magic to check them. Too cruel. Frigga was shocked. Although the 4 people had injuries on their hands, feet, and heads, they could be healed with one magic. The most serious injury was the spine. I don't know what method the person who did it used. The spine was completely broken into pieces. The spine is the most important bone in everyone's body, and it is no exception for the Asgard people. The spine is also the source of the Asgard people's strength. If the spine is injured, their strength will be greatly weakened. If the spine is just broken, Frigga still has a way to recover. But now it is shattered like this. Even if Frigga repaired them, it is very likely that their power will no longer be preserved. But now is not the time to consider these issues. In short, surviving is the most important thing. After Frigga finished the inspection, she began her repair work. It took Frigga a whole night to complete the repair of the 4 people. At the moment, they were lying on the bed to recuperate, and Thor was guarding in the room. Fortunately, the 4 people had exercised very well before, and they only took one night to wake up from such a serious injury. But when they woke up, they hoped that they would never get up again. Odin learned from Loki that Thor's friends had offended Jeanne. He ordered Loki to take these people to Jeanne's palace to apologize and never affect the relationship between Jeanne and Asgard. Loki happily accepted this task. He dug the 4 people who were still recuperating from the bed and dragged them directly in front of Jeanne. Seeing these 4 people standing up in front of him with pale faces, Jeanne was stunned. "You are still alive?" Jeanne simply sighed. These 4 people were injured like this, but they were still alive. Magic is really amazing. But in the ears of the 4 people, this sentence was full of murderous intent. The 4 people were shaking like sifting chaff. They had resentment in their hearts, but more of it was fear. When they were fine before, they joined forces and the other party had less than 10 seconds to seriously injure them all. What's more, they had become disabled now. Several people knelt in front of Jeanne and sincerely begged for his forgiveness. Jeanne accepted it. "King of the world, why are you willing to accept their apology? They should have been sentenced to death for their disrespect to you." Loki stood aside and fanned the flames. Sometimes death is a relief. Loki thought of the dead eyes of the 4 people when they left, and his heart was chilled. He realized that the king in front of him was actually completely different from what he thought. The same personality as Thor's just his shell, and in his heart, he is a king who is more terrible and ruthless than his father. Loki, who has always been the best at adapting to the situation, knelt down in front of Jeanne without hesitation. "No matter what the king orders, I will do my best to complete it for you." Jeanne was amused by Loki's tactfulness. "I want to go to Jotunheim." After his best friend was seriously injured by a new friend, Thor trapped himself in the palace and refused to leave, until one day, Odin walked into his palace and had a long talk with him all night. He finally cheered up. He also let go of his knot with Jeanne. Odin believed that Thor had understood the meaning of peace and returned his power to him. Thor was leaving Asgard that day. He swore to his 4 best friends that he would find the last doctor in the universe of them and let them become warriors again. Before leaving, he came to Jeanne's palace to say goodbye. "I hope you can forgive my attitude that day. I was too anxious at the time. In fact, your actions are impeccable. I have learned from my father what the dignity of a king is." After saying that, he laughed at himself. "I think I may never be able to become a king as powerful as you." Jeanne patted Thor's shoulder. He was very pleased with the part of his character that belonged to the conquering king. "One day, you will find your way to the throne." Jeanne suddenly remembered that he had promised to give a weapon to the other party. The king of conquerors, he is currently equipped with only one weapon, the sword of Cyprus. If he wanted to give a gift, he should equip Gilgamesh, although it is dangerous to equip Gilgamesh in this kingdom full of gods. But Jeanne has always been a man who keeps his promises. He changed the card directly in front of Thor. After a dazzling light passed, Thor saw that the clothes on his friend in front of him were different, and the divinity on him was more intense. Gilgamesh chose a hammer with a file size and shape similar to Mjolnir from his treasure house. The level of this hammer is A, which is a full level higher than Mjolnir, and the shape is more exquisite, and it is golden and in line with Gilgamesh's aesthetics. Both the hammerhead and the handle are made of gold. The hammerhead is hollowed out and carved. Looking through the gap in the carving, you can see that the hammer is hollow. But this does not mean that this hammer is very fragile. On the contrary, it is heavier than Mjolnir and has stronger attack power than Mjolnir. And they also have the same properties. Both can attract lightning. He handed over the golden hammer in his hand. "I have ordered it to recognize its master. No one can lift it except you." As soon as Thor took the hammer, his eyes lit up immediately. He could feel that the hammer in his hand was not only higher in level than Mjolnir, but also had spirituality. There are not many spiritual weapons in this world. Even his father's weapon is only slightly spiritual. which is completely incomparable to the one in his hand. Ha ha ha! You are indeed my good friend. I really like this gift. Thor laughed and wanted to run outside quickly to try this hammer. Unlike Thor's satisfaction, this hammer was very resistant to the fact that it wanted to change its owner. It was like it was working well in a world-class company, but was suddenly arranged to be an assistant to a street vendor. Although it was previously in a first-class company, it was suppressed by countless bosses above it, and there were countless competitors at the same level. So it was not easy to stand out, but at least it sounded good. It just showed its refusal, and when it saw its owner frowning slightly, it immediately became timid. Forget it. It's better to agree, otherwise there will be no whole body left. Thor couldn't wait to run out with his new hammer to show off to his family. Zheng frown finally relaxed. It's too difficult to get along with these gods with a card equipped with Gilgamesh. He just managed to suppress the tyranny in his heart. Let's change a card. Zheng opened a heroic spirit library and decided to equip Siegfried. In this country of Norse mythology, it is indeed most appropriate to use heroes from the same pantheon. It has been several days since Loki agreed to send him to Jotunheim. Zheng was not in a hurry and played in Asgard alone every day. After equipping Siegfried's card, he felt like a fish in water in this country of Norse mythology. This special sense of belonging made him feel as if he was born to belong to Asgard. Finally, on this day, Loki came to Zheng palace with a golden scepter. When he saw Zheng his expression was stunned. This king of the world looked different. In addition to changing a set of clothes, his divinity similar to that of the gods of Asgard became more intense and complete, and Loki subconsciously felt that the other party was very strong. Although he has not felt Zheng power yet, he doesn't know why. He just has this feeling that Zheng is stronger than all the gods in Asgard, even stronger than Odin. This is because Siegfried is the strongest existence in the Nordic countries in the two epics, Volsung's Saga and the Song of the Nibelungs. Therefore, even though Siegfried's card is not very powerful, he can completely suppress the opponent's power when facing the gods of the Norse mythology system. Even Odin has no power to resist. Zheng recognized it at a glance. Loki was holding Odin's scepter. Congratulations. It seems that this god Elias has succeeded in usurping the throne. Thank you. Facing this person in front of him, Loki did not think that he had the right to put on airs in front of him just because he had seized the throne of the God King. Therefore, his attitude was still as respectful as always, and he even became more respectful because he felt Siegfried's power. It seems that you have a way to send me to Jotunheim now. Yes, please follow me. Loki took Zheng to where Heimdall was guarding Bifrost. Heimdall, send the king of the human world to Jotunheim. Heimdall said, no one can go to Jotunheim without the order of the God King. Loki raised the scepter in his hand. I am now the acting God King. I order you to send him to Jotunheim. Heimdall saw the scepter, hesitated for a moment, and finally agreed. Okay. Zheng stood at the designated position, and Heimdall turned the key. After a brilliant light came on, Zheng entered the passage of Bifrost. Not long after, he arrived in Jotunheim. As soon as he entered Jotunheim, Zheng felt a gust of cold wind. This is a planet without sunlight, dark and cold all year round. Zheng looked up and saw only ice and snow around him, nothing else. System, have you detected a heroic spirit? Yes, I will send the location to the host now. Zheng was overjoyed and finally found it. This heroic spirit took him the longest time to find since he got the heroic spirit system. Even with a heroic spirit system, the universe still has many unknowns for him. Zheng ran quickly towards the position of the system. When he was about to get close to the positioning, many giants with huge bodies and gray-blue skin suddenly appeared. Pairs of red eyes glowed in the dim environment, which was creepy. The giants of Jotunheim and Asgard have been fighting for many years, and they are very familiar with the breath of Asgard's gods. It's the Asgard people. They broke the agreement. Go and inform the king. More and more giants of Jotunheim surrounded him and looked at Zheng viciously, but no one dared to do it. Everything had to wait for their king Laufey to come before making a decision. A giant of Jotunheim wearing a crown and equipped with golden armor came out. The other giants slowly stepped back to make way for him. He stood in front of Zheng Bin and looked down at him. You are not a god from Asgard. If they have a god as powerful as you, I must have seen him. I never said I was from Asgard. Who are you then? What do you want to do in my kingdom? A light and graceful girl's voice sounded behind Lao Fei. He should be looking for me. The girl was extremely beautiful, with the tenderness and beauty of a young girl, and her long silver-white hair seemed to be shining in the dark. Her clothes were luxurious, and she wore a lake green cloak outside. The moment she appeared, the system's voice sounded. Heroic Spirit Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanova, 5-star level, cast a class. I can feel the breath of the heroic spirit and the magic power from Chaldea in you. Who are you? I am Siegfried now. You are here to find me, right? Yes. I am here to take you back by order Chaldea. Anastasia's cold eyes fell on Zheng Bin. What if I don't want to? Equipped with Siegfried, Zheng Bin's personality is still relatively gentle. After hearing Anastasia's words, he raised the sword in his hand helplessly. If that's the case, there is only one way to fight. Okay. Zheng Bin raised his sword and rushed towards Anastasia first. He knew that he was now equipped with a 4-star card, and there was still a gap in strength with a 5-star card. So he took the initiative. Anastasia dodged easily, floated into the air, and then released the treasure. See everything. Penetrate everything. Give your strength to my frost. Run, elf eyeball. Anastasia smiled and said, I have seen through your weakness. After saying this, she condensed countless ice swords and shot them at Zheng Bin's back. Zheng Bin felt the danger and quickly dodged to the side. At the moment, Anastasia activated her trash skill, creating a crack on the ground and tripping him. Fortunately, when Zheng Bin was tripped, he quickly flipped back with his hands and avoided the ice sword. However, there was still a scar on his back. According to legend, when Siegfried was bathing in dragon blood, only his back was not soaked. Therefore, although his whole body was extremely hard, his back was his biggest weakness. After his back was injured, Zheng Bin could feel the loss of strength. Immediately activate the recovery skill. Return to the beginning. He was surrounded by soft light. The scar on his back healed immediately. Zheng Bin felt that he was in trouble. Siegfried originally had no resistance to magic. He won the battle against Tong Yao because he took advantage of the fairy tale world. Now, facing a caster who can see through his weakness, he has not thought a solution yet. The giants of Jotunheim that originally gathered on the ground were all dispersed by Lao Fei when they started fighting. When Anastasia first came to Jotunheim, Lao Fei tried to expel her. The final outcome was naturally that she was abused and finally carried back by other giants of Jotunheim. From then on, Anastasia built an ice castle in his territory and lived there. And Zheng Bin's powerful divinity also made Lao Fei very afraid. When two people with such strong strength fought, he naturally asked his people to stay as far away as possible to avoid being affected. Anastasia continued to launch a large number of ice swords in the air, and Zheng Bin blocked them on the ground with a big sword. He realized that he was now completely in a passive state, and there was no other way except to release the treasure, wake up from the golden dream, and be liberated from the cradle. Evil dragon, die, fantasy greatsword, the devil's fall. A huge amount of beams of light instantly melted all the ice swords and attacked Anastasia. Anastasia saw the fast approaching beam and knew that she could not hide in time. She had to activate the treasure. Vi, please, curse them all to death, plunder them to death, and freeze them to death. The magic eye is activated, Ranvai. A solid and magnificent fortress in Russian architectural style rose from the ground, instantly wrapping Anastasia in it and blocking all attacks. The beam hit the fortress, and several huge amounts of cracks appeared on the fortress, but it still stood. Other heroes have a limit on the number of times they can release their treasures because of the problem of magic power. With the support of the entire Chaldea, Zheng Bin's magic power can be said to be inexhaustible. He released the treasure again. This time, the beam from the great sword shattered the fortress. Anastasia slowly fell in the light of the shattered spirits and fell to her knees weakly. Releasing the noble phantasm twice was already her limit, and the magic power she brought from the throne of heroes had been exhausted. Zheng Bin walked toward her and placed the tip of the sword on her chest. Anastasia smiled sadly. Let's do it. That part of Siegfried's character made Zheng Bin sympathize. The last time he fought against Tong Yao, it could be said that he fought for justice. This time, the sword body pushed forward and pierced her heart. Anastasia closed her eyes peacefully. Zheng Bin breathed a sigh of relief. This time it was a close call. He almost lost. Siegfried's card was a little bit weak against a 5-star card. Fortunately, there was the support of Chaldea's magic. Zheng Bin had just put his sword back for less than 10 seconds when the system issued another reminder. Mission released, save Jotunheim reward. 2 draws. Why are you so generous this time? Because this is a rescue mission for the planet, the difficulty is higher than before, so the reward will naturally be increased. What will happen to Jotunheim? Do you need me to save it? Zheng Bin, whose memory of the plot has become very vague, asked. Before the system could answer, a huge amount of light beams shot out from Asgard and hit the ground of Jotunheim. Instantly, a strong earthquake occurred on the ground, and a huge amount of cracks appeared. The iceberg next to Zheng Bin collapsed, and huge amounts of rocks hit him. Zheng Bin quickly avoided it. It is a disaster in Jotunheim caused by Asgard. To be precise, it's because of Loki. In the plot, this disaster will be interrupted by Thor. It's just that your appearance disrupted the plot, and Thor has left Asgard. After the ground cracked, it collided again. Now the whole planet is in chaos, and the wailing of countless giants of Jotunheim can be heard. In order to avoid the rocks that collapsed on him, Zheng Bin jumped into the air. Equip Solomon card. Yes. After a burst of light, Zheng Bin's gentle eyebrows and eyes, when he was equipped with Siegfried, instantly became cold. Zheng Bin floated in the air and released the treasure. The 3rd treasure. The time of birth has come, and it will correct everything. This treasure is the existence that transforms all human history into heat. Jotunheim was wrapped in a halo, and all the disasters on the ground stopped. At first glance, it looks like a halo, but it is actually a collection of hundreds of millions of rays. Each ray has a damage comparable to that of an A-level treasure. The beam originally fired by Asgard was wrapped by a thicker beam. This huge amount of beam shot towards Asgard. This huge amount of beam of light shot directly through the entire planet of Asgard. And Loki, who was closest to beam and was controlling the palace, was flung away by this huge amount of energy and died in a ruin. Odin, who was lying on the bed with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. Zheng Bin found that Asgard's attack had stopped, so he took back the treasure and slowly landed on the ground. The giants of Jotunheim also poked their heads out of the ruins and found that the attack had stopped and cheered. The king of the giants of Jotunheim, Lao Fei, stood in front of Zheng Bin. You saved us in Jotunheim. From today on, you are our friend. Lao Fei enthusiastically asked Zheng Bin to stay on their planet for a while so that they could greet him. Zheng Bin agreed. He needed the divine wheel to return to Earth, and the Conqueror King needed some time to cool down. In this case, it's okay to play in Jotunheim for a few days. This idea ended one day when the female giants of Jotunheim came to his room in the middle of the night and lifted the rags wrapped around her upper body. Zheng Bin used a magic to knock the giants of Jotunheim out, forming a huge amount of human-shaped holes on the wall. Lao Fei rushed over and said, "Friend, what's wrong? Are you not interested in the most beautiful woman in our tribe? Tell me what kind you like. This is my gift to you for alliance." Zheng Bin thought of the face of the giants of Jotunheim just now, and the 2 strange shapes on the upper body, and he almost vomited. You are not going to form an alliance, but to make an enemy, right? After the Conqueror King cools down, immediately equip it. Let the system report the location of the Earth, and drive away on the wheels of the God of Power. If Lao Fei comes to alliance twice more, he will be withered. Okay.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.